This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher, that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets.
James Comey, former FBI director, is now under indictment for threatening the President of the United States. I call that a very good start. I want Hassan Piker arrested.
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me.
As you heard from the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney, former FBI Director James Comey has now been indicted for 2 felony counts.
Let's do a compare and contrast, Mr. Blanch. In 2022, someone well-known in right-wing circles, Jack Poskovic, posted on X, 8646. He did not take it down. He did not apologize. Mr. Comey has done both of those things.
What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to review and react to Erika Kirk's video. She responds to why she was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. She took some jabs at Druski, or defended herself against the whiteface comedy skit that went super viral. Mentions Candace Owens and a lot of other stuff. We're going to look at that first. Then I want to talk about a few other things. The James Comey indictment. After all of the hype of all the things that James Comey did, they're trying to put him in jail or charge him. I don't know how serious they'll go after him for, but it's for his seashells, like 8646 Instagram post, and they're saying it's a serious threat that they investigated for a year. I'll give my honest reaction to that. I also want to talk about this car kill switch mandate that it seems almost too insane to be true, because it's like, really? They're really going to do that? But it's for drunk driving. Of course, we lived through COVID, so just because they say they have a switch that could turn your car off if you're drunk, what else could they possibly use it for? A lot of people are asking that. Got a lot to say about that. The glyphosate protests, I want to show people a video on that and really just get people aware. I saw a viral post. I don't even know who it's from, but I posted on my Facebook if you want to go see. They were like, I went to Italy. You know, I was eating terribly, you know, as far as like what I was eating. I wasn't even counting calories or anything, but I felt amazing. And then I get back to America, I eat the same thing, and I need medicine in order for my stomach to not hurt. There's a lot going on. I'm not saying it's glyphosate or only glyphosate, but I really hope that Americans on both sides can come together, because if we're the greatest country in the world, the richest country in the world, why are we just okay with eating garbage food that everybody knows is garbage? Not just because it's like, oh, it's chocolate or this or that. It's the way that they're making it, spraying it, creating it. It's just not up to the standards of the rest of the world. So we'll talk about that at the end. Dream Rare podcast starts now. Give me a thumbs up if it sounds good, looks good. Appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you so much. I'm grateful that you tuned in.
It's the Dream Rare podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble? Thanks for being here. So much news happened over the last like 3 days since, or maybe 2 days since I've been live. I wanted to go live to talk about a lot of stuff at once. And the Erika thing was just a new thing today that I knew a lot of people would want to tune into. And, you know, it's a topic that I wouldn't say I've avoided, because that's not true, but I see it from both sides. It's like, you know, her husband was assassinated, so the Matt Walsh types are like, let her grieve, you know. Candace Owens is like Sherlock Holmes. She's like the #1 investigator on the case, and she's got a lot of people under her investigating. Some people say they're going too far. Others say it's not going far enough. So I get all sides of it. And however, I will be reacting to this video today, saying what I think, and I have a few times. I just pick and choose my spots that I'm inspired to. But, you know, let's look at the first clip. One of the top comments I saw said, why is she dressed like a bank robber? I'm not really sure, like her fashion choice before and after. Like, she's always just dressed really bizarrely to me. So I'll be as respectful as I can, and as graceful, gracious as I can. But I do have, unfortunately or fortunately, some opinions of my own. So I'm just going to say them. It's my show. I think I'm being nice, but I can't lie. I'm not going to play stupid like Matt Walsh and be like, I don't get it. Well, I'll tell you why. Anyway, here's the first clip.
We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher, that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets.
Okay. Let's look at the next one. I just chopped it up.
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me, and I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me?
Okay. Third clip.
So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face."
So personally, I have a rule. I'm not saying everyone has to have it, but this is just my discernment and how I think about stuff. If you lie to me about something small that you don't have to lie to me about, something that's like not a big deal, then I don't ever trust you for anything that you say. It's not to say you can't ever tell the truth, but my trust is earned. It's not given to anybody. That includes friends, people you meet, people online, obviously politicians. You should never trust a politician, but journalists, news analysts, like trust is earned. It's not given, and nobody should demand your trust. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've gone through. Every time I go live, I'm trying to earn your trust through doing a good job. And even if I earned it over 1,000 live streams, if I do something that's super sneaky just one time, you have every right to not trust me. Like every day I go live trying to prove myself. That's the career I'm in. I don't expect just people randomly to trust me. So with her in that whole clip, not to be too nitpicky, I kind of feel bad, but this is just how I feel. I just find her extraordinarily unlikable. I find her over performative, her outfit's performative, the way she talks, like everything about her. And I'm not a hater at all. I love my life. I like to look for the best in people. I like great athletes, great musicians, great news analysts. I try to have the utmost grace with everything that I do. And I'm really not somebody who just hates on someone for no reason. I'm not a hater, but I just don't like anything about her. And there's something, I think she's a lovely lady, and, God bless Charlie and everything, but like the way she talks, the way she dresses, the way she acts, the way she looks, like, with her eyes, like it feels so fake to me that it's like almost like a parody within itself every time I see her talk. Like it's ridiculous. Then she does something that I consider is something that she doesn't need to lie about. She says I'll play the clip again because I don't want to like take it out of context, but she basically says, the reason I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner was because I wanted to look journalists in the face who, badmouth me in the press.
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me, and I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me?
Just her energy is like so dark and so bitter. And I understand why. Listen, there's a lot of journalists that I don't like that have written articles about me and said mean things, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I would ever like act that way. Like just something about the energy of it is just so off-putting and weird. But in general, do I think that she probably wanted to see some journalists face to face who dehumanized her and looked them in the eye? Of course, and there's nothing wrong with that, but can you at least be honest and be like, also, it was a cool invite. Also, if a shot didn't happen, which was obviously, I'm sure, traumatizing to her and everyone else, but it's a cool event. Like they make jokes. It's funny. You get invited places. It's like, you don't have to say no to an invite. Like if Trump invites you to the White House for a different reason, you can go for whatever reason you want. You can go to Mar-a-Lago party. You can go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He's invited you. I've seen Erika Kirk at like multiple political events now. And I don't believe that the only reason she went or the main reason she went is just to look a journalist she doesn't like in the eye. I'm sure that's part of it. I don't care, that's part of why. But I feel like she's so defensive. And like I said, I'm going to try to be as thoughtful as I can. I understand why. A lot of people are scrutinizing her every move. It seems to be really bothering her. Understandable. It would bother anybody. But it's like she's defending herself against everyone saying, why are you at the White House Correspondents Center? Why are you even there? And it feels like this over performative, I have to make up like the most noble reason of all to go look them in the eye. Can you at least admit like part of me wanted to look at the journalist, part of me wanted to enjoy my night, part of me, it's an honor to get invited to the White House. It's, someone invited me to a comedy show earlier this week. I didn't want to go just to look journalists in the eye. It's a fun event. Obviously she's allowed to have fun. And I know, to be fair, people will over scrutinize everything she does. So I get why she feels the need to just make it like it was just about this. It was about this. I swear, I'm yelling, I'm mad, I'm dressed in all black, I'm staring. Okay. Like it's not really convincing anyone, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you went, but and like I said, I'm sure that's part of it. Everything about her, about how she talks, about how she acts, it just feels like she's trying to prove something to people who don't believe her. And the more and more she talks, the less and less people believe her. I have the utmost sympathy, empathy, respect for anybody that goes through what she went through. But you just can't make me trust somebody or like somebody. Like, let's just say Mark Levin. I don't like Mark Levin. I don't trust Mark Levin. I get really weird vibes every time he talks. I feel like he has dark energy. I would never want anything bad to happen to anyone around him or him ever, because that's a horrible thing to think about. But it's like you just can't really like make me like Mark Levin. You can respect Mark Levin. You could respect, let's pick like John McCain for an example. He's a veteran. Bad things have happened to him. He's gone through war. Like there's a way to, and some people are disrespectful, but there's a way to like respect things he's gone through. But it doesn't mean just because someone's a veteran, you have to like them or you have to think they're a patriot. So it's kind of the thing with Erika. Like I understand she's went through something absolutely traumatic, but the Matt Walshes of the world who are like, why is everybody hating on her all the time? It's like, well, she didn't grieve for that long in the darkness and silence and in her own house or with her friends. She did a town hall with Barry Weiss. We've talked about this months ago. This is when I first started talking about her. I'm like, if you're just grieving or just doing turning point events or just doing this and that and just doing news events, that's fine. I'm not going to sit and talk about you. I have better things to talk about. But you're going to do a town hall with Barry Weiss, the incredibly untrustworthy. Everybody knows what her real job is there at CBS and in general. And now I'm just supposed to not talk about a public town hall that you did on one of the biggest news networks in the world? You don't do a town hall in front of the world to not be looked at and talked about. You do a town hall if you're running for office. I've never seen a person like Erika even do a town hall. So it's worth talking about, to be like, why is a random person doing a town hall after her husband died? That's a weird thing to do. What is she, like running for governor or something? Who does a town hall? But now they're doing a town hall, and then Matt Walsh is white knighting. Like, why do people want to talk about her so much? I don't know. Why is she on my television, answering questions? She's doing it because she wants people to listen to her talk and believe her. But that doesn't mean everybody has to like her or believe her. So, I just the whole like sequence of that entire way she, like, it's not what she's saying. And I really feel bad about this kind of, but it's like, the reason people's picking everything she does apart is just everything about it feels fake. The way she talks, the way she acts, the way she looks, the way she dresses. It's just like the fakest, most performative thing I've ever seen. I'm not saying she doesn't have real pain. I'm not saying she doesn't have real trauma, but she's trying to like force herself into this position that I don't think. It's like when Jeb Bush ran for president, right? Jeb Bush comes from a family of really successful people that have, his father was a president, his brother was a president. So then he becomes the guy who's next. He just isn't. He's just not that guy. He's not interesting. He's not funny. He's not likable. Like, you can't force a circle into a square. It's like with Erika. I feel like she spent her whole life being in music videos, being in like these like weird documentary type movies. She's here, she's there. She, when Charlie was around, she's dressed in all pink. She's wearing the craziest dress I've ever seen a woman wear at any political event, literally ever. Then she's in leather pants. Then she's in a gold suit. Now she's dressed in all black, like she's robbing a bank. Like, it just never ends with her. And it's like, I get it, but I just think that some people are just not very likable. And the more she wants to be liked and trusted and believed, like the bigger hole she keeps digging herself in public perception. That's my opinion. I kind of feel bad saying it, but it's just like I said, I'm not a hater, but I'm actually just perplexed every time I hear her talk and like the way she acts and the way she dresses. It's almost just like a parody within a parody within a parody, and I feel bad. Like if there's people around her that really love her, like the Matt Walshes of the world, who say, "How dare everybody say this and that?" It's like Matt Walsh like not figuring out why Mark Levin's numbers aren't really high. Like why are Mark Levin's YouTube videos not doing better? Maybe he's just not that guy. You know what I'm saying? And maybe somebody around her should be like, maybe take a break for a month or two, or maybe like maybe this position's not for you, or maybe I don't really know. I don't really know what to do about this. It's not my problem, but I just, even if I never made this video, I feel like 95% of people are feeling this way, and like the internet is still going to do what it does. So I don't know what to really say about it, but let's listen to the clip of her talking about Druski and Candace Owens.
In this culture we're living in, absorbs disagreement as a form of personal betrayal. It turns having an opposing viewpoint into a moral crime worthy of punishment. And here's what I've realized through all of this, truly, having lived through quite literal hell these past 7 months, if you strip someone of their humanity long enough, you will arrive at the chilling conclusion that they don't deserve to exist at all.
So I guess she's trying to say, because people don't like me, you don't think I should exist or something. I don't know. It's just, and I'm not saying it's coordinated, but I have noticed like Mark Levin has said recently, like he does believe in censorship. He falsely calls Tucker Carlson names all the time. And then he says the names that he calls Tucker shouldn't be on social media. I'm going to show you later. Trump is talking about hate speech now. That's a term that most Republicans mock at. They're like, there is no hate speech. That's just a way to take away our free speech. So there's this weird push that I'm not saying it's coordinated, but it seems coordinated to me, where like all the normal, agents of the matrix are just in unison trying to like let people know. It's like, how when the left tries to censor us and say like words are violence and we laugh at it and we made millions of dollars telling you that that's not true. Well, now we're going to say the same thing for words that we don't like, and we're going to go after James Comey for an Instagram post. And now if you don't like me, I'm going to say you're dehumanizing me. And if you dehumanize me or make a joke about me, that means that you want to hurt people. It's like, that's kind of like the logic that she's using. And I get where she's saying, I understand the concept, because there are leftists and right wingers who actually do dehumanize people and do really messed up stuff. And I don't agree with everything that everyone does, but I just think it's a really slippery slope that we're walking now, where, I noticed the coordinated effort on the right to basically just be like, yeah, if you do this, that means you did this. If you did that, then that means you did that. If you did that, then that means that you're connected to that. It's the same thing the left does. And they're trying to shut down podcasts and people that they can't compete with. I'm not saying Erika's doing that, but I know that other people are. They're trying to say that if you say that and then someone does something crazy, then you're responsible for what they did. Same tactics as the left, same tactics as the deep state. And, we'll talk about that later as well. But here's where she mentions Druski doing whiteface, which, is probably super rough. I mean, Charlie was made fun of on South Park. She was made like, it's rough when you're the butt of a joke that has hundreds of millions and billions of views. I genuinely feel bad about it. I think it's, it probably doesn't feel good. So I think we need to be compassionate towards that. But let's hear her response.
Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO, and I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on. There is a serious epidemic of dehumanization plaguing this country.
So I guess, like, I watched the Druski skit where he dresses up in white faces her. And it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, is Druski dehumanizing you just out of nowhere, just being like, let me just really make fun of this poor widow because I'm just a mean spirited person and it's super, that's what I want to do? Or did she act in a way that was so ridiculous that every comedian in the world and everyone on Instagram started making videos about it? And Druski wasn't first, he was like last. If I could be honest about it, I think that although perhaps certain things have gone too far and people are being rude, it was Erica's actions, it was the fireworks, it was the leather pants, it was the gold suit, it's the all black dress like a bank robber, it's the staring, it's the town hall with Barry Weiss. It's all of those things. And you know, I heard one time, and this could be a good thing for most people, but if you're trying to be like a star, right? Whether you're like the hero and like the baby face in like the WWE, or you're, what do they call it when you're like the bad guy? I forget the name. Somebody will tell me in the comments. There's a name for like the good guy and the bad guy. I forget the heel. The heel is like the bad guy. What makes you a star? Someone told me one time, they're like, if people could dress as you for Halloween, that means that you're unique. You stand out so much that if someone dressed up as you, that, oh, that's who it is. So with Erika, like, it could be seen as a good thing where she's just like a really unique character, like the way she looks, like she'll do the eyes like at Candace Owens, and she's got those like Kenneth Copeland eyes where it's just like, it to some, they'll say it's fierce if they like her. If they dislike her, they'll say it's like demonic, and she like freaks them out. It looks very dark. So she's kind of just like she's a very superstar of a character in the sense that she's just easily identifiable. It's like, you see fireworks, it's Erika Kirk. The all gold suit, it's Erika Kirk. Like the ridiculous outfits, it's Erika Kirk. The stairs, it's Erika. So people are, it's easily like, it's easy to make jokes about. And I think most people, even though they were on her side for the first couple months because of what happened, I just think that most people just don't really like her. So it's like, the more she leans into it, the more she gets made fun of. The more she gets made fun of, the more she gets upset. The more she gets like, it's a sad cycle. And I do get what Matt Walsh is saying, because it is sad. Like, someone needs to step in and just be, and like have a conversation with her and be like, listen, it doesn't mean you can't run the business. It doesn't mean you can't do that. It doesn't mean you can't do events. But like, who is her PR team? Like, who's telling her, yeah, dress in all pink like you're a bow tie on a Christmas present at a woman's event. Be the most ridiculously dressed person here. Put on leather pants, this quickly. Put on all gold suit. Wear all black. Stare, like, do a town hall with Barry Weiss on CBS, on Paramount. What, who's telling her to do all this? I don't know. Like, it just seems like a really bad trajectory if you're trying to quash, all of the criticism and all of the jokes. But one thing, as I want to move on, because I don't just want to talk about Erika, God bless her family. There seems to be a lot of things in unison to start to censor speech a little bit and move back on that path. And there was even a poll, I think it was YouGov, not that it means it's necessarily like true to the entire population, but it seemed like for the first time in a while, people thought that Republicans are censoring speech more than Democrats, even though we lived through Democrat censorship during COVID and Democrat censorship for years with like LGBTQ stuff. For the first time in a long time, people are perceiving, even if it's not true, that Republicans censor speech more. And I'll tell you the reasons that they're perceiving it that way. One, the Israel lobby basically controls the Republican Party, and all Republicans censor speech for Israel, are taking away visas for Israel. You can't watch the World Cup in America if you criticize Israel. They're trying to shut down protests at college campuses for Israel. They're trying to cut funding at college campuses for Israel. If you're a non-citizen writing an op-ed against Israel in America, they can deport you. It's like, we live in the United States of Israel and we're a police state for Israel, and Republicans are in on it. Trump passes speech laws. Most Republicans do in their states. They pass the IHRA anti-Semitism definition and weaponize it against anybody that they can. So I'm not saying that the left is good. They're horrific, but you have a combination of all of that. Plus now you have this weird, like, seemingly coordinated, not saying it is, push to say, well, Jimmy Kimmel needs to be fired. I think, the FCC needs to go after Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's horrible. I don't think he's funny at all. I don't think he's likable, intelligent. I find him very dark. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel at all. I despise Jimmy Kimmel, actually. But why does he deserve to be fired? Nobody even watches his show. If you just ignore Jimmy Kimmel, nobody cares. Like, he's going to eventually get phased out anyway because he's so irrelevant in the culture. The only time Jimmy Kimmel trends is when he says something edgy and then Trump gets pissed at it or Melania gets pissed at it. I know his jokes are pretty foul, but I agree that it's not the right time for that sort of stuff, but where does this go? Like, Anthony Jeselnik makes really messed up jokes. Every comedian that's really funny makes really messed up jokes. Like, what now if it's against, like, and then this idea that it's comedians that are inspiring people to do messed up stuff through their humor, as if like that's what's really going on. So even though I despise Jimmy Kimmel, if he gets fired under their own will, I don't care. I would never hire him. But it's like, let's revoke their license because they're doing this. Let's take it away. Let's say that if you make fun of me comically and the whole world laughs at me, then you're trying to dehumanize me and hurt me. I'm noticing this weird push. And, even with a few things, but let me just, I'll tie this all together, but let's get into the James Comey stuff because I think this all ties in. And here's Kash Patel talking about it. He says that, they've really been working hard on this case against James Comey, and it's not as simple as you think.
As you heard from the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney, former FBI Director James Comey has now been indicted for 2 felony counts. While many of you may read this indictment and view this matter as a simple investigation, it is the farthest thing from that. And as the Attorney General indicated, this has been a case that's been investigated over the past 9, 10, 11 months. These cases take time. Our investigators work methodically. They are career agents, career prosecutors who work these matters.
How long could it possibly take to charge him because of a seashell Instagram post? I mean, we'll see what case they have against James Comey, but they're claiming it took like upwards of a year to charge James Comey for basically incitement to violence because he did a 86, 45 or 46 or what, I don't know, like what number was, I guess 45 or 47 now. So I think it was the 45 one. Here's the thing with all of this. I guess before I get into a bigger angle of it, let's just look at similar posts that conservatives have made. And that's like the counter argument now from others. You got this. So Jack Pasabic posted 8646 on his social media account a couple years ago. Matt Getz has posted, we've now 86 McCarthy, McDaniel, McConnell, better days are ahead for the Republican Party. So there's 2 things there. One, the exact thing that they're charging James Comey for, other Republicans seemingly did. Maybe not the exact thing because they say they have more on them. And then there's proof from other Republicans like Matt Getz that term just means get rid of. I've never worked in the restaurant industry. Actually, I've washed dishes and I've done like a cashier, but I wasn't like waiting tables. So I didn't get the lingo. Nobody talked to me when I was washing dishes. I just sat there with warm water in my hands. But anyway, apparently from my friends who worked in the restaurant industry, that's like a really common phrase to just like, get rid of somebody out of your like restaurant or whatever. I don't know, but it feels to me like it's going to be a hard court case to win, considering Republicans are doing and saying the same exact thing as are millions of people around the country, because it's a very common term. So here is some random news host asking Todd Blanche, the Attorney General now, how are you going to charge James Comey for the same thing that Jack Pasabic said on Twitter, to which Todd Blanche says, it's not that simple. We're charging him with a deeper investigation than just the post. So let's listen real quick.
Let's do a compare and contrast, Mr. Blanche. In 2022, someone well-known in right-wing circles, Jack Paskovic, posted on X, 8646. He did not take it down. He did not apologize. Mr. Comey has done both of those things. The Biden Justice Department never prosecuted him.
So, yeah, I don't watch CBS, but this is valid journalism, I would say. A good question. Like, is this not the same thing that you're charging James Comey for?
That's just completely not true. That's not how a grand jury does its work. They don't just look at a single image and then say, okay, yes, we'll indict, or okay, no, we won't indict. They do an investigation. This conduct took place in May of last year, May 15th. It has been almost a year.
So he's saying it's not simply about the social media posts. We've been investigating the social media posts for a year, and that's why we're charging James Comey. Let's listen to the third part.
I assure you, the FBI, the Secret Service, and the U.S. Attorney's Office have not been sitting around doing nothing. They have been investigating. I have no idea whether there was an investigation into the other times that post has been made and whether that investigation yielded different results. This investigation that we undertook resulted in a 2-count indictment.
So he says, essentially says, I don't know if they investigated Jack over that post or what they came up of, but we're investigating James Comey over the post. And this is a question for Republicans. There's a lot of angles to this, but first of all, do you think that a private citizen or, like Jack, I'm not saying like James Comey, even though he probably was a private citizen at the time, like, do you think that someone should get investigated for saying that term on social media? Like I said, I'm not familiar with that term, not from the restaurant industry, not from anything else. I learned about what that meant as it was happening with James Comey and the seashell post. So it's like, is this a standard that Republicans want to live up to, right? Do they want to push a court case this flimsy? Do they want the next administration to do that to them? Because Trump posts some pretty wild stuff. Most Republicans post some pretty wild stuff. And when they do so, they say, I have the First Amendment. I could say whatever I want. I agree. But, this is now moving a line closer towards, in my opinion, reaching. There are some serious threats that probably should be investigated, but I don't know that this is one. I mean, we'll see what the court case says. Here's another angle of it. When you listen to Republicans talk about James Comey, like, obviously I don't trust, anybody who has worked in the intelligence communities really that much, no offense, but I don't trust James Comey. I didn't like Merrick Garland. I really didn't like Mayorkas. Like, all of these people were not people that I care at all about because I don't like or trust them. However, I will say this, and to be clear as well, I don't believe what Trump and Republicans say either. Obviously I lean more to the right. Everybody knows that at this point, I think. But I haven't trusted Trump or the GOP in at least 5, 6, 7 years, maybe never. I can't really remember 2017 and 2018, but I don't listen to what they say. I'm not taking their calls to action. They're like, go to the Capitol, do this, do that. It's the Trump vaccine. Like, there's everything that the fake opposition GOP does, and I would consider Trump a fake opposition as well. It's always designed to just distract you, create chaos, send you to the wrong direction, get you mad at sort of the right thing, but not in the right way. So I completely ignore them. However, most Republicans that actually parrot Donald Trump and believe him, how many things did they tell you about James Comey and the deep state and the intelligence communities and all of these things? And I'm not saying James specifically, but they said they stole the election. They tried to set Donald Trump up. They tried to throw Donald Trump in jail. They tried to charge him over the Russia collusion stuff. They tried to prevent him from doing this and that and all of these crazy things that they've had a long time to prove in court. And if they had any of those things available, they would have brought them into this court case or another court case, but they really don't have that much information, or they're not interested in prosecuting it. I'm not really sure which one it is. But this is just like the weakest, most flimsy case that I've ever seen. I don't think it's going to go through. And I think they can't really live up to the same standards that they're putting these other people for, considering they've tweeted almost identical things numerous times. So I just find this to be a combination of theater, moving the slippery slope towards not having free speech, and basically setting their supporters up to get got by the next Democrats in office. And that's kind of how I see things. When it came to January 6th, I don't know anybody else that said this. And maybe it's too dark for some people to think, and they don't want to believe this. And I'm not saying I could prove this or it's true, but with January 6th, if you take yourself out of the whole moment and look at what happened, you have Donald Trump, who did 15 days to slow the spread, Donald Trump, who did Operation Warp Speed, Donald Trump, who printed trillions of dollars and gave it to the Democrat states to scam you. Donald Trump was in on step A, B, C, D, E, F, G, And then he tells everybody, I'm going to change the election. It's been stolen. It's been rigged. Follow me to the Capitol. Most people, most journalists, especially most high profile people who went to the Capitol, they ended up either getting investigated, harassed by the FBI. Some of them got sent to prison. Some of them had to do lengthy court cases. Like anybody who trusted Donald Trump and showed up that day was pretty much in one way or another screwed. And then Trump leaves office, gives Dr. Anthony Fauci an award. He gives Mark Milley, who he says he hates, an award one of his last days in office, pardons a bunch of people that you guys don't even know who they are, like a bunch of shady stuff. And then he hands the baton to Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden, his administration starts prosecuting everybody or going after people. And then his administration just, now they don't really have any competition. All of the people who would have been against mandates and lockdowns and vaccine tyranny, they all got set up by the vaccine salesman himself, Donald Trump, because they trusted in him. So, when you see it through that lens, did Donald Trump just make a mistake, a reckless mistake with the January 6th thing? And he didn't know that his supporters were going to get set up, or he didn't know that feds were going to be there, and he didn't know all of these things that Democrats were going to reach and lie? Or is he the Judas goat? If you look up what a Judas goat is, they use an animal to lure all the other animals into the slaughter, and they all follow. And then as soon as they all get slaughtered, the Judas goat doesn't get slaughtered, and then he leads a new herd or pack of animals to the slaughter. So it's like, you could think about it two different ways, and I don't know what's true. Oh, Trump didn't mean to lock the country down. Trump didn't mean to do the vaccine thing. He got tricked. He got fooled. He got scammed. Or he just doesn't care. He simply doesn't care, and he knew or didn't know that you were going to get set up, and then the next regime is going to come in. So with the Comey stuff, I'm a little bit more skeptical than most. I don't care about James Comey. If they can prove that James Comey actually was going to do something insanely messed up to Trump that's illegal, then it is what it is. He'll face his day in court. But knowing what I know about politicians and Trump and the GOP, I wouldn't be shocked if this was all just one big setup to pass the baton to the other side, and then they're going to come after you and actually prosecute you for doing things that he now has moved the line to saying is a prosecuting offense. Let me just look real quick. So just this last week, Mark Levin was explaining that he does agree with social media censorship if it's for really bad people that he, slanders with names. And of course, I've seen him call Tucker Carlson the same names he said should be kicked off social media. So I don't trust that. And the White House tweeted out, "Enough is enough." They quoted Trump saying, "I do think the hate speech of the Democrats is very dangerous. I really think it's dangerous for the country." So I've noticed a few different things, and you could really tell if you follow who you know is like an agent in the Matrix, where before the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and of course, like Mark Levin is still unhinged, but the term hate speech is just a made-up term to say that your speech is hateful, but now it's not the First Amendment. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's a crime. There's not crime. There's free speech. There's beyond that. There's no such thing. Like, what is hate speech? What is Donald Trump? What do his donors? What do his handlers think are hate speech? I know what they think are hate speech because there's an official definition of it passed into law called the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism that they're eventually going to try to prosecute people under. But in general, I saw this massive shift before the White House Correspondents' Dinner where everybody in Trump's orbit was just going like, sicko mode on like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. Dan Bongino gets out of the deep state and says, it's time to wage war on doomers. And their whole strategy was basically, let's just attack all of the greatest people we have in our party who voted for Trump multiple times. Let's try to kick out Thomas Massie with 3 Zionist billionaire donors, Miriam Adelson, Singer, Paulson, Trump. They're all trying to get out Thomas Massie because Thomas Massie reveals the curtain. He tells you about glyphosate. He tells you about the food industry. He tells you about vaccines. He tells you about lockdowns. He tells you about their wasteful spending. He wants to do single issue bills so you can actually see what they're actually passing through these massive bills. Thomas Massie is not a perfect person. You don't have to trust him or even like him, but he's clearly the best person in Congress. I don't even think number 2 is close. If they are, good for them. Let's keep them too. But Thomas Massie is not the problem in Congress. He's part of the solution. So Trump is now the swamp. Dan Bongino is now mad at all the most honest people in journalism because they want everybody to just worship Donald Trump, trust the GOP. and act like you're a bad person if you want to hold the guy you voted for accountable. And then after the White House correspondence thing, I've seen a massive shift where now Dan Bongino's talking about the left and Trump's talking about hate speech from the Democrats. And, now it's this and now it's that. There's something a little funky going on. And speaking of something funky, here is, well, let's read the tweet real quick from Michael Knowles, one of, in my view, no offense, one of the least impressive people that's had a massive machine behind him for decades. He's had probably multi-million dollars worth of camera, employees, budgets, like he could have done so many things, but yet you can't think of a single thing he said or done in the last 10 years. At least Matt Walsh did What Is a Woman? Like Michael Knowles is like as average can be because he's can't really tell you the truth about anything. He has to play dumb on the Israel lobby. But anyway, here's Michael Knowles said Kimmel should obviously be fired. But then a couple years ago, he said comedians should not lose their jobs for telling jokes and professors should not lose their jobs for discussing ideas. Right. So this is the difference between me and somebody like a Michael Knowles. I believe what I actually say. So even though I despise Jimmy Kimmel and I think he's an idiot and I think he's horrible and I think he's got really dark energy, I don't think it doesn't matter if he gets fired or not to me. I just think people should ignore him and eventually he's not profitable probably anyway. Maybe he is in some way, but I don't see it. So he's not going to last forever on a broadcasting network because his talent is just not there and he's not funny. But I don't think he necessarily needs to be fired because he told a joke about Melania that was super dark. Let's do a reverse flip side, right? Let's just say Donald Trump is on stage or a right-wing comedian like Theo Vaughn, not that he's that right-wing, but you get what I'm saying. Anybody that we like goes on stage and tells the exact same joke about Joe Biden. Do you think that Michael Knowles would say that that comedian has to be fired? Of course he wouldn't. You'd see Michael Knowles bend himself into a pretzel to say the exact opposite take. He'd say, no, that's just a joke. See, that's the difference between me and Michael Knowles. I mean what I actually say. I actually have principle. He's just like an agent in the Matrix to just confuse people all the time and be like, I'm a Catholic, but I don't notice the Israel lobby because I work around the Israel lobby and I just don't seem to notice it that much, even though it's the number one issue that's literally controlling our politicians and the reason we can't get anything. But I don't see it. Okay, Michael, you just don't. You and Matt Walsh just don't really want to talk about it that much because you work around people that would probably have a conniption if you did. Sure, but you get what I'm saying. If you believe that someone should be fired for that, then I want to see you say the exact same thing when your side does it. If you can't, you're just a con artist. And nobody thinks that if Donald Trump told that exact joke, Michael Knowles or someone, who's a right-wing person that has like any sort of like, I don't know, Greg Gutfeld. If Greg Gutfeld told that exact same joke, should he get fired from Fox News? Of course. Michael Knowles would never believe that and never say that. So here's him then saying that he wants more people to be arrested, not just James Comey. He wants Hassan Piker to be arrested. And he goes on to say more and more. We need more arrests for jokes or posts that we consider threats. Okay.
I don't know if you caught the news. James Comey, former FBI director, is now under indictment for threatening the president of the United States. I call that a very good start. I want Hassan Piker arrested. I want all of the elected officials, the Democrats, the media figures who...
And he goes on to say, anybody that has done a threat, I want them all arrested. Here's the question. This is not just to Michael, but this is the question to the GOP, to people in Republican media, and to you yourself, the audience. Do you think that the standards that Michael Knowles is pushing, and keep in mind, I do not like Hassan Piker. I don't trust Hassan Piker. Once again, he's like Jimmy Kimmel level to me. I just don't like him. But can Michael Knowles, his entire media network, all of the politicians he supports, all of the media people he likes, and all of the journalists that he backs, can they live up to the exact same standards that he's saying to go arrest a bunch of Democrats with? Probably not. I would, even just like listening and watching these people. I mean, I've seen, just for example, this was years ago. I saw Andrew Klavan tweet that he just wants to wipe Iran off the map, which is like 90 million people. So it's like a dark joke about a president versus somebody who like legitimately wants to wipe 90 million people off the map, and tens of millions of them at least are just innocent civilians who just so happen to be living there. to me, that's way crazier. But still, even though I think that's literally insane, and people could say that's an incitement to violence because it pretty much is. I mean, what else would it really be? I still think, even though that's super messed up, I think that Andrew Klavan has the First Amendment right to say that because it's foreign policy. And unfortunately, in foreign policy, wars are happening. But we live in a country now where the same people that are saying all of these things, if someone else says the same thing about a foreign country that they like and borderline work for, then all of a sudden it's so extreme that it needs to be kicked off of social media. But they say the exact same things about other people. So it's like the line that Republicans are drawing over this Comey thing. Even though I despise James Comey, I see a few things happening. Incredibly weak premise for considering everything that they said that the deep state and the Democrats and the intelligence communities have done against Trump. If they've done all of these horrible things that you campaigned on, and you got all these like MAGA moms like ramped up on it, why is this the only charge, or why is this like the prominent one that took you a year to find? Like, that's pretty flimsy. That's pretty weak. Can any of these people live up to the same standards? Absolutely not. So one of two things is going to happen in the future. Either Democrats are, and this is something that I think bothers me about Republicans, besides a lot of things, is that they set the precedent sometimes of what they think should be done. So they'll move the bar to something like super ballsy, right? I'm all for ballsy strategy, but it has to be intelligent strategy. If you want to do something super ballsy, make sure it's moral, make sure it's just, and make sure you do it. But if you just talk about it, you're moving the Overton window towards justifying some sort of thing that you're not actually going to do. And then you get someone else in office, and then if they do it to you, and you're going to be like, well, this isn't fair, this isn't the same. I could see Democrats doing it more than Republicans doing it. So it's like you'll move the bar, you'll talk about it, you'll almost do it, but you'll have a flimsy case, and then they'll flip it right back on you and your friends, and then you're going to sit there and play the victim. So it's like, if you're going to move the bar, if you're going to like actually prosecute an actual corrupt politician for doing something super corrupt, I would assume there's probably 100 things that politicians have done in the last 10, 20 years that are 20 times as bad as his Instagram post, but nobody's going to get charged for it. So they're moving the bar, they're moving the public discussion towards justifying something that they're not actually going to do, and then setting Republicans up for getting persecuted under that same rule that they just created and did nothing about. Either that's going to happen, or, it's just all theater. Like, I don't, maybe certain Democrats really hate Donald Trump and really want to arrest him and his friends. It's definitely possible. Maybe it's just a show. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump calls Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. Chuck Schumer is a Jewish American who said that he's in the Democratic Party to make sure that they stay pro-Israel. He has the same foreign policy, just slightly different than Donald Trump, but he wants to defend Israel in a different way. So Trump calls him a Palestinian. Do I think that Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump are really mad at each other? No, they work ultimately for the same people at the end of the day. It's just like this theater of like, pick a side, but they're both going in the same direction. So, with this Comey case, I really can't put a finger on it. Time will tell. I think it's a super weak case, especially, considering that there's two posts from prominent Republicans, that one of them saying the exact same thing, the other one showing you that has a different meaning besides just what they said it means in court. It's a popular meaning that doesn't just mean to go after somebody in that way. So it's like, how in the world could they possibly win this case unless they have actual concrete evidence that, James Comey actually was going to do that to Trump? And if they do, then they'll show the public and everyone will be behind them. I don't think they do. Something weird is afoot. And the fact that Trump is, tweeting about hate speech, he's using this tragedy that just happened to tweet about hate speech to justify the FISA spying bill for, the military really needs to spy on us to beat up Iran. There's something really, really strange afoot. And the more that story comes out too, I'm not going to say too much now, but it looks like early reports, I'm not saying this is concrete, early reports are showing that it was the Secret Service that shot and hit themselves. And there's just a lot of weird stuff about that whole situation. I'm not saying the guy didn't do anything, but the more that comes out about that, it's gonna, if you're actually following it and you're actually looking at the confirmed details that are being shared by the Justice Department, it's an interesting situation that they are now using as a justification to say that there's a such thing as hate speech. So once again, if Trump says fight, 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 the Democrats are evil, the Democrats, there's multiple videos of Trump calling them fascists. He calls all sorts of people names, right? Which he has the right to do. It's the First Amendment. And then one of his supporters does something super crazy. And then they say in a manifesto or something, I really like Trump. When he told me fight, 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 I wanted to go fight. Did Trump incite that violence? Is it Trump's fault? No, I don't think Trump should be charged for someone's actions when Trump says words. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for Trump. I don't believe that for Biden. I do believe there's evil people in the media, and I do believe there's people winding people up in a sick way, and I don't like it. But, you have to understand that if Trump is going to say that Democrats are doing hate speech by inciting violence from their supporters, Trump does the same stuff to his supporters. He literally ramps them up, says all these words, uses the same terminology that the left does on them. Should he be charged in court for that? No, it's like everything they did to him, he's now acting like he's completely oblivious. Yeah, they spied on FISA with me, but we need to spy. I'm willing to give up my freedom again because now I'm the president. If he gets spied on with FISA when he's not the president and they try to throw him in jail, could you even feel bad for Donald Trump when he's the one who says he wants to lose his liberty? He wants to lose his security for the military that he controls now, but he won't control in 2-3 years. It's just, our party is such a joke. Speaking of which, there's going to be a new Fed chair soon. His name is Kevin Warsh. And of course, he just so happens to be the son-in-law of the president of the World Jewish Congress. I bet you don't even know what the World Jewish Congress is, but the president is Ronald Lauder of the Estee Lauder fortune. I know a lot of women know about that. It's like a makeup company or a beauty company. And Ron Lauder is not only the president of the World Jewish Congress, he's also the one who gave Trump the idea to take Greenland. So it's like everything about Trump. If you look at his plans to take Greenland, his plans to start the war, his tariffs, everything that you think that Trump is doing for you could trace it back to some obscure Jewish donor or, Zionist backer of his that told him to do it, that did this, that every move he makes, every post he makes. It's like the U2 song. Is it U2? It's like every move you make, every smile, it's all for Israel. That's Trump's entire life is how can I just open the floodgates of America and let all of my donors and billionaire friends just do whatever they want with it. So the plan to take Greenland was a plan according to what's the guy's name with the funny mustache again? I'm trying to think. John Bolton said in multiple interviews that it was this guy, the president of the World Jewish Congress, that gave Trump the idea and sparked the idea. And I guess his son-in-law is going to run the Fed now. Nothing about that. Here's the president of the World Jewish Congress explaining how we need better real laws to go after anti-Semitism, because this is what a lot of Trump's backers want to do. They just don't like people who just say things that they consider anti-Semitic.
All world leaders, all politicians must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed, severe, tough, real laws that will put these hate mongers away in prison for a long time.
These hate mongers, all this hate speech that Trump's complaining about, if you ask, you don't have to ask AI, but I'm sure if you searched it just using research tools, it's what hate speech has Trump cracked down the most on? What has he sent people out of our country for? What is he cracking down on the universities? What laws is he passing in America that define hate speech? IHRA, definition of anti-Semitism. Been talking about it for 6 years. It's getting closer and closer. That's what they're doing. That's what his donors want. Trump is basically just hiring anybody who's a puppet of the Israel lobby or just one of these type of people that is like that guy. Anyway, so what's going on? I'm gonna play one more clip, then I'm gonna kind of wrap everything up and talk about the kill switch in the cars, because that's almost unbelievable that this actually passed through our Congress, but it did. And this video will kind of wrap it up as well. This is RFK talking about glyphosate and a quick Instagram reel I made about it. And this is the message that I want to say before I play this quick, very easy, watchable clip. You shouldn't trust a politician. You shouldn't trust Donald Trump. And this isn't a cosign for the Democrats or Biden, but when you realize that certain things pass through Congress almost unanimously, it's obvious that these people are not going to help us. These people are not going to save us. These people don't care about us. And when push comes to shove, Trump is not the leader anymore that is leading the charge against the tyranny. He used to act like he was doing that in 2018, but during lockdowns, he didn't really do anything. Operation Warp Speed, he literally did it himself. When he was out of office, after he set everybody up at January 6th, he ran around the media. He wasn't fighting for our rights. He wasn't fighting for our freedoms. Ron DeSantis was doing more. A lot of people were doing more. And I don't trust Ron DeSantis. I'm just saying he was like provably fighting for your rights during the second half of COVID. Trump couldn't care less about you. He's on television. I saved the world with my vaccine. It saved 100 million lives. Like, yeah, I'm not for mandates, but if I were president, there wouldn't even have to be mandates because everybody would have wanted to get the Trump vaccine. Like, he's a garbage leader. He does not only does he not care about you, but when there's kill switches and glyphosates and all of these things and speech censorship and spying, not only is Trump not going to be the one to say something like a Thomas Massie or, any of these politicians, he's in on it. So this idea that Republicans have that they should just wait for Donald Trump to fix all their problems, he's one of the problems. He's not the only problem. It's all of Congress. It's all of Washington. But the solution is super, super simple. People just have to call it out and let these people know that you know what they're doing. But when you have all of these fanboys and agents in the press that are like, just back Trump. Wow, everything's amazing what he did. Caroline, leave it. Wow. They're as bad as Democrats because they're stopping people from realizing what's going on. And it's just going to be this continuous cycle forever until people figure this out. I know a lot of people are catching on, but there's still people that they have this, this cult-like worship of Trump where they just want to believe he's like the hero in Batman 4. So then they twist their brain into a pretzel to justify everything he ever says or does, when the reality is he's working for the donors, he's working for the establishment, he's working for the Israel lobby, he's working for big pesticide, big pharma. Trump doesn't care about anything. His kids are doing prediction markets, legalizing the gambling on war. What that guy's getting charged for, he bet on himself to capture Maduro, and now he's getting charged in court. Is that bad? Yes. Is that stupid? Absolutely. Is he probably going to get charged? Probably. Like, he definitely messed up and committed a crime. However, in my opinion, what he did, even though it's bad, is not as bad as Trump's family and friends making millions of dollars on legalizing the gambling over war. Who's worse, the guy who gambles on war or the guy who makes war gambling legal? Like, this is like demonic Sodom and Gomorrah stuff. And Trump and his grifter friends and family are cashing out on all of it. His son is an advisor at two different gambling companies for prediction markets to gamble on war and invasions and all this stuff. So it's like Sodom and Gomorrah levels of immorality. And then Christians and conservatives are still worshiping the Judas goat. I say this not to demoralize people or make them upset, but just this simple thing is like, no one's coming to save us. No one's coming to fix our food. No one's coming to stop the kill switches. No one's coming to stop this new slave state that Trump's rolling out. I'm not asking people to freak out about it. I'm simply just letting people know, if we had every Trump supporter and every conservative and every Christian and every libertarian, instead of worshiping Donald Trump, calling out Donald Trump and making it so unpopular to dick ride Donald Trump, that's when we're going to get the results, because it's not going to be from the left. And to be honest, there's a higher chance of Donald Trump working with the left to pass the baton to them after, he's out of office, or simply maybe just getting tricked by his donors where they're dumping money into Trump, using him like a little robot, and then they're just going to go right back to the left. I'm going to play the clip in a second, but while I'm on a roll, I saw this clip or a post of Sergey Brin, who is like one of the founders of Google. He's like, he's a Jewish refugee, he says, and he's like, now all of a sudden, and there's a reason I'm saying this, because I'm going to get to why I just said he's a Jewish refugee. But anyway, now that the Marxists and socialists and borderline communists in California are talking about a billionaire tax to just steal his money, now all of a sudden he's coming out and saying, I fled socialism, I fled communism, I'm so against this. And he wants to move out of California, as he should, because who wants to live in a state that's stealing your money? But now, all of a sudden, now he realizes what the left is doing. If you look at the history of Google and Sergey Brin, he didn't do anything about leftism. He didn't do anything about radical leftism or feminism or the LGBTQ wave or, the socialism that they were pushing over the last decades. He supported mass migration from the third world. He was against Trump's travel ban. He supports HIAS. I think him and the guy who's building the ballroom got brought to America by HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society or something. But anyway, that's what Mayorkas was on the board of. He's a board member of HIAS, and they're refugee resettlers, and they push for mass migration. So in general, I get why they're biased if they got brought to this country by that organization, understandable. But the point that I'm trying to make, and that I want all Republicans and conservatives and Trump supporters to get, even if they don't like me, I don't care. Do you notice a trend of people like Alan Dershowitz, who were Democrats their whole life or for a while, and then all of a sudden they want to be Republicans just to back Israel because they realize that Trump's an Israeli puppet, essentially? And then the Sergey Brins of the world, where it's like he's all for the left, and then they try to steal his money, and all of a sudden now he has a problem. Now he's using the term anti-Semitism. He's mad at the UN and the leftists over there because they're against Israel and he's Jewish. It's like there's a certain trend going on that I notice where it's like now that a bunch of the people who funded radical leftism realize that they don't worship Jews in Israel because the leftists see them as just another white person or whatever. Now all of a sudden they're dumping money into the right, or they're leaving California, or they're backing Trump for a third term, and they're hanging out with donors who are giving Trump hundreds of millions of dollars to work with Israel. It's like these people that are fueling Donald Trump. Just imagine it like they're his battery pack that's fueling his rise, his billions of dollars in ads, the reason he's got elected. As soon as they want, at any point, they could just go back to the left. And then it's like Trump's going to be sitting there, and then they'll just move right back because, when it comes to liberal issues, in my view, I'm not going to say everybody, they don't care that much about the United States of America. They don't care about most European people, in my opinion, and they don't care or like Christians. Not all of them, and I'm not saying the two I mentioned earlier, but I'm just noticing a trend with a certain tribe is you listen to them talk enough, and they really despise Jesus Christ. They really are not a huge fan of Christianity. They're really not a fan of Europeans. They love mass migration, not to the country that they like, but to all of the countries that you guys live in. And then all of a sudden, when it all backfires, then they're like, oh, which country supports the foreign nation that I like more than this country? Oh, the right wing? Oh, I'm right wing now. So, any day now, Republicans, whether they like or agree with me or not, need to wake up to the reality of like, yes, it's possible that Trump is just a total phony or whatever, but let's just say he doesn't want the left to take over. The people backing him, they don't see it the way that he necessarily sees it, if he even does that way. And I want people to realize that they just need to stop waiting for RFK Jr. or Donald Trump, because when all of this tyranny comes, they're either going to do one of two things. They're going to be pushing the tyranny, or they're going to be sitting silently being like, talk about my ballroom. I don't care that much about the ballroom, although I'm concerned that donors that pay Trump to do things for Israel are backing it. But however, it's like, does anybody really think they voted for Donald Trump for high gas prices so we could talk about a ballroom? He talks about how many times has he true socialed about a ballroom? 50 times? How many times has he true socialed a Mark Levin post that's disgusting? Dozens of times? How many times has Trump true socialed about a kill switch in your car that they're going to put in to make sure you're not drunk driving? But if they could scan your body and scan your face and scan your, insides or whatever they're doing in order to get your blood alcohol content, what else can they use it for? What else can they shut your car down for? To put that technology or mandate that technology in every single car. Where's this post about that? So that's the tricky part about Donald Trump. Even if you prefer him to Joe Biden, even if you hate 90% of what I say, don't people realize that he's not the leader for all of the things that you care about? He's like an agent of chaos. Let's talk about a ballroom. Look, I put my face on a on a piece of paper when you come to the country. Oh, wow, there's going to be a Trump coin and a Trump golden statue, and the left, oh, the hate speech. It's like all he is like a Tasmanian devil just stirring everything up. And then when you need somebody to really go after the mandates, he's nowhere to be found. You know, the vaccine, he's promoting it. Mask mandates and vaccine mandates, you're like, hey, my kids are suffering. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my job because Biden's doing stuff. And Trump's like, yeah, whatever. Let's talk about how great my vaccine is. It's like, he's not your leader. The number one issue on the conservative side right now, and I'm talking about the people and the voters, not necessarily like the John Thunes of the world and all the controlled opposition morons, but the heart of the base of the Republican Party. Their number one problem is they like and trust Trump too much. So they're just simply waiting and following the lead of a guy who's not leading them. So peacefully, honestly, calmly, you don't have to get upset. Some people say you should be outraged right now. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be outraged. It's going to raise your blood pressure and you're just going to be outraged all the time because nothing's really changing that fast. So it's like, you shouldn't be outraged. The people that are saying you should be mad, you should be angry. Why? Be calm. Relax, you know what I'm saying? Be passionate if you'd like. I know I get a little heated up sometimes, but in general, it's like you can be passionate and honest without getting ramped up, and you don't need to get ramped up and fluster yourself. You just simply need to understand what's going on. And once enough Republicans and conservatives understand that, we can actually clean our food supply. We can get rid of this kill switch. But if people are sitting and waiting for Trump to be the leader against the tyranny, he's with them. If you haven't figured out who's controlling our country at this point, the same people who are controlling our country are controlling Trump. Trump might be the most controlled person by the people controlling our country. Like, he's literally just opening up his entire government to them. And then it's going to be like, do you want Gavin Newsom and Mayorkas, or do you want Donald Trump and a bunch of Zionists? It's like, that's not a real choice. This isn't a real country. It's like speech laws for Israel or speech laws for Israel with the LGBT, the same war or the war. Do you want trillions of dollars of debt or trillions of dollars of debt? Do you want poisonous food or poisonous food? It's like the options are getting exhausted right now. But here's a little video I made to let people know, because this is the number one thing I've been hearing all week. A bunch of like healthy moms and healthy people, they think that RFK actually believes what he's saying on Joe Rogan because he's bending himself into a pretzel to defend Trump. And I'm here to let people know that if RFK wasn't in the Trump administration, he'd be in the streets protesting. And the number one issue that I want to say here is, don't believe that RFK and Trump have this plan to get rid of glyphosate and poison out of your food over time. They absolutely don't. RFK is just running PR for Trump because he has to stay in office. So watch this video. It's very clear cut. Then we'll get back.
Their own Monsanto. But, you know, pesticides are poison. They're designed to kill all life. It's not a good thing to have in your food. So, but so it's not something that I was particularly happy with. Let me put it that way mildly. But I also understand the president's point of view. The president didn't create the system. He's dealing with a problem that was created long before, over the past 60 years, when, through federal policies and subsidies and the management of farming in this country, the agricultural management, we have addicted our farmers to these pesticides, and particularly glyphosate. Glyphosate is the foundational pesticide of our food production system. So 97% of corn in this country is produced with glyphosate and can't be produced without it. 98%, you could do it. You could change it. There's organic corn producers in this country. It's like 3%. 98% of soy is produced with glyphosate. If you ban glyphosate overnight, or if you got rid of it, or if somebody else cut off our supply, it would destroy the American food system. And
how crazy is that statement? The American foods, the entire system is based on using poison.
right?
I like RFK Jr., but I think he's misleading a lot of people because he's doing PR for Trump because he works for him. Here's the thing. Do I think it's fair to say that you can't get off of glyphosate overnight because we're producing so much food with it? Absolutely, that's fair. But what RFK is not telling people, and I've had lots of people over the last few weeks get confused with this, they say, no, you don't understand. We can't do this overnight. We need it. So then where's the plan to wean off of glyphosate over time since RFK agrees that it's poison? Does the Trump administration or RFK Jr. have that plan to slowly, even if it takes years or decades, wean off of glyphosate over time? They don't. In fact, the Trump administration is doing the opposite. They're providing new legal immunity for glyphosate companies. His administration's backing them in court cases, and they're making it more difficult for RFK or anybody like him in the future to reverse what they're doing and create a plan to wean off of glyphosate over time. So don't let RFK trick you into thinking they have this plan. Yeah, we can't do it right now, but over time we could slowly get off of it. Well, that plan doesn't exist, and it never will exist unless people wake up to the fact that both parties are controlled, including the Trump administration, who has hired plenty of lobbyists to sit on regulatory boards to make decisions for this type of stuff. And if RFK weren't in Trump's government, he'd be out in the streets protesting with Food Babe and Thomas Massie. But since he is in Trump's government, he's folding himself into a pretzel to create a narrative to trick people into thinking that they have a plan. No, they don't. Don't trust them. So that's a quick video I made for Instagram and everything, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, YouTube Shorts, because I kept getting messages and people kept saying, oh, did you hear RFK on Joe Rogan? No, you didn't hear RFK on Joe Rogan. Like, we can't get it out of our food, so like that's what it is. And they're like, it takes time to get out of our food. So then I'd say to these people, it was like dozens of them, they're getting tricked by RFK. And I'm like, so do you think there's a plan to get it out of our food? Like, I get what RFK is saying. Absolutely. Yeah. We can't do it overnight because we rely on it. Okay. Where's the 5-year plan, the year plan, the 2-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan, the 30-year plan, the 50-year plan, the 100-year plan? Where is the plan, RFK? It doesn't exist. Trump is making a plan like that impossible. It would be like saying, I think there's too many vaccines. And Donald Trump's like, well, here's Operation Warp Speed, and I'm going to declare an emergency. So there's the PrEP Act, and there's a, National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act shield. And it's like, well, you're definitely just making it harder to do what we just said we were going to do. And then RFK is like, no, listen, it's impossible to get rid of all the vaccines at once. And it's like, yeah, but what does that have to do with what Trump just did? Like Trump, RFK is running PR for Trump because he has to in order to stay there. I'm fine with RFK just shutting up and just, swallowing his pride in order to get a few things done. But if now RFK Jr. is going to be an agent of dishonesty, or at least like tricking moms into thinking that there's some plan, it's like, we can't get it out overnight. Okay, but how much harder is it going to be to get out over the next 30 years if Donald Trump passes immunity shields for them? RFK, if he was not in office, he'd be right there next to him, protesting against it like he used to before he was in office. I want to read this post. Dave W. said, I just spent 2 incredible weeks in Italy, and it's so frustrating to come back to the U.S. How is it possible, RFK, that Italian food supply is so vastly superior? I literally ate bread at every meal, dessert multiple times per day, and generally ate way more than I do in the U.S. Not once did I have acid reflux, no headache, no digestive problems, and I didn't gain any weight. If I ate the same way in the US, I used to at times, I would have had to go through a bottle of Tums and Advil just to get through the day. Isn't that crazy? Wow. Thank you, Dave, for sharing. That's a great story. I talked to a maintenance guy last year, and he told me he went to New Zealand for a month for a project, or a couple months. He came back and his doctor said, wow, all of your issues are gone. Like, what medicine did you take? And he goes, I didn't take any medicine. I just lived in New Zealand for 3 months. And when I went to their doctors, they gave me something holistic that wasn't medicational. And like, his whole problems are gone. Like, we're literally being poisoned in this country. Half of our population is fat, not just because everyone's lazy. It's because they're eating like garbage. Like, I'll give you an example for myself. I'm in my 30s now, so I'm sure my metabolism is way shittier than it used to be. But in general, like, I walk a lot, I work out a lot, I play sports. I move more than like probably 95% of the country, if not more. And it's like, nothing really changes. Like, I definitely, it's like, you can lose weight sometimes, but the amount that I have to do in order just to like maintain or get slightly more healthy is astronomical. I bet if I lived in Europe and I did everything I was doing now, I would be like 20 times more healthier just because everything I'm eating is probably filled with glyphosate. It's probably been sprayed a million times. Even the organic stuff is fake. Like nothing in this country is real. Everybody knows. I've talked to people from South America. I've talked to people from the Middle East. I've talked to people from Europe. I've talked to people from New Zealand. Everybody says our food is absolute garbage. Like they're like, dude, every time I come to America, I feel like shit. I get fatter. I break out in acne. They're like, what? Like your food is the shittiest food in the entire world. And it's like, that's what RFK ran on. And that's why Trump picked him. So it's like, we need to poison ourselves in order to have the food supply being run, even though the rest of the world proves that that's actually not true at all. And it is possible to get out over time. I'll have a farmer on sometime because I'm not like a super farming expert. I did live on a farm and I did work on a farm, but it wasn't like a huge factory farm or anything. But it's like, why do you even need an herbicide? Like glyphosate's an herbicide. I was tasked with picking off bugs and picking out weeds. That was my job in a strawberry field, right? I'm one person. In a big factory farm with a bunch of food, they would just have to hire more people and make less profits. If you look at the people who grow the food and like the big sellers, like the multi-billion-dollar companies that are running like the massive food supply in America, they're profiting billions of dollars. They have money. They could pay humans. Like I said, there's two ways to do natural pesticides and natural herbicides. You pull out the weeds yourself and you pick out the bugs yourself. But here's the thing. You might lose a few. I mean, you lose a few crops anyway, even if you spray pesticides and glyphosate, like you're going to lose some of the things. Like anybody that's ever lived on a farm or even just uses common sense. Like I worked in an onion field. I worked in a strawberry field. I'm trying to think what else maybe peppers. I think we had watermelons at one point, but it's like every crop is not good. Some of them are deformed. Some of them go rotten. Sometimes a bug gets in one. But most of them turn out pretty decent. And then you pick the ones that are good and you put them out. Even with spraying them, you still have shitty ones. Like there's no way to get 100% perfect things unless you're doing it like abnormally in a lab. And that's the beauty of nature. It's like, then you have somebody get the good ones and then you have somebody pick out the weeds. It's definitely possible to do this stuff. Like I don't need RFK to tell me that it's like, oh, it'll take time. We know. Then take the time to do it. You just spent $1 trillion in the Middle East. You're going to spend $1.5 trillion for the next military budget or whatever. You're telling me you can't put a budget together, and this is what really pisses me off about our government, and also why I don't even feel like arguing about socialism or communism or capitalism anymore. They do socialism and communism already, but they do it for big pharma. They do it for the military. They do it for Israel. They do it for Ukraine. They'll give money to Africa for this and that. Jordan gets money. They get money. South America gets money. They have money for everything. But then when it comes to like, hey, can you spend a couple $2 billion to get the food more organic so we're not spraying it with poison so our people are fat and have, a bunch of diseases? Oh, we don't have the money for that. I mean, that would be socialism. You guys do socialism in every which way, except for the people of America. So it's like, it's not even worth arguing about political theories anymore in this country because we're not a capitalist country. We're not a libertarian country. We're not a republic anymore. Both parties are controlled by donors. Every election's fake because Trump's fake too, but he won't say that because that would wake you up. So it's like, what's the point of even arguing about little hypotheticals? You're going to go, how many trillions of dollars have they gone in debt since Trump and Biden has been in office? They probably raised the debt by what? 10 trillion, 15 trillion. I stopped counting, but let's just say trillions, right? A million is a million. A billion is 1,000 millions. It's a lot of money. A trillion is 1,000 billions. That's a lot of money. Think about 1,000 billions, 1,000 millions. They have that much money. They're just losing and wasting and just printing in thin air, and it just is on a computer somewhere. You don't think they have the money to make organic farming or at least get rid of pesticides by like 50%, 20%, 10%, 30%, 40%? They don't care. It's a whole cycle. And this is like, I can't speak for everybody, but like before I even cared about politics, before it was Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump or whoever, even I liked Ron Paul at one point, I was deeper than politics in the sense of like, I know how it works. It's like, There's a prison complex. There's a, oh, you're sick. Now you need a medicine. We have the medicine. Oh, you need a vaccine. We have the vaccine. Oh, the same people spraying the pesticides is a pharmaceutical company. It's like Bayer and Monsanto merged. Oh, you're sick. You're sick from that. Oh, we have a pill for you. So it's like, I figured this stuff out when I was like a teenager. It's like, I didn't even care about Bush. I knew he was a phony. Obama's a phony. I was just like, this whole like prison system we're in is a system of, they don't care if you get sick because they have the cure if you're sick, or they have a medication that you'll have to be on for the rest of your life. And then they'll profit off you. Every like 50-year-olds on like 7 pills and 8 pills. And wow, go get this medication. Your doctor says it's only $30 with your insurance that costs $10,000 a year. And then he gets a kickback from the company and he's a millionaire and they just made billions. It's like, that's what the whole system is. So I think they don't have incentive to switch it because who's in charge? That, and RFK won't tell you this because he's in the government, but Trump hired a pesticide lobbyist for one of the boards. There's, if you use AI for anything, use it as a research tool. Use Grok or Chat GPT or whichever one you use and be like, how many lobbyists did Trump hire? How many lobbyists sit on regulatory boards? How many pesticide lobbyists or big pharma lobbyists or whatever, and it'll tell you. That's what AI is super good for as a tool. And it's like, that's not the government's not changing. And RFK is doing a little bit, but to me, this is just such a huge issue. It's like, if you can't do it, then just shut up about it. Cause I don't want to eat crap for 30 years. Like, and it's getting to the point too. And I know America's a great country because we have a great economy and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, what makes your life good? If you're eating shit food, if they're replacing us with foreigners, if we're getting overrun by people who don't even speak English or want to assimilate, they don't even like us, they just want to use our petrodollar. It's like, at what point does America become not even that cool anymore? You know what I'm saying? You go to certain parts of Europe, and although they don't have the best economy, they have families, they have a culture, they have a heritage, they like each other. It's not like a lot of Europe is falling apart from mass migration too, and just liberalism and degeneracy anyway. But, it's like, this is such a massive talking point that shouldn't even be left or right. And this is our best chance to get something done. And they're not doing it. Trump's making it harder to reverse. So everybody just needs to stop liking or caring about these people. If you like them, cool. If you want to support them or whatever, I don't care. I'm not saying to like hate them, but they're politicians. They're running the government. They're becoming a PR team for not being able to solve the problem. And it's too complex. And then this person gets in. If RFK and Trump and Darko Rubio and Bark Levin and Maria Bartiromo, the parrot, and Laura Ingraham, the fake shill, I'm just kidding. But if all these people came together, especially the government ones with the budgets, and said, you know what, we're going to spend as much time, resources, money, and thought process to make our food supply better for every American of every race, religion, and every 10,000 gender that you could be, or three-spirited, tooth fairy. We're going to come together and use the budget we use for anti-Semitism to make our food supply better and the pure power. But they don't. They police anti-Semitism with the fury of 10,000 Mark Levins. They start wars with the fury of 20,000 donors. They have money for Operation Warp Speed. If Trump did Operation Warp Speed for organic farming, we could probably figure it out. But instead, he basically did Operation Warp Speed for pesticides. I mean, that's essentially what he did. He's ramping up glyphosate production and providing new immunity shields for them. So, they have the resources, they have the money, they have the thought power, they have the infrastructure, they have AI, which you can use as a great tool in some ways. And they're not using it for anything good. They're using it for gambling on war. They're using it for drones. They're using it for war. They're using it for AI, artificial intelligence learning. And Melania's like watching some little girl with some freaking, glasses on her head. Wow, I'm learning. It's like, that's not what we need AI for. Put the girl in a class with some human beings, and then she could use it as a research tool. We don't need her to have freaking goggles on her face at the White House. It's like, we're living in dystopia when we should really be living in a way better country. And they have technology now that they could probably kill weeds and some of the pests with like natural light, or I'm not saying for sure, but there's so many creative, unique ways to do that. And like I said, I've never worked on a huge farm, but I have worked on a farm, and I lived on a farm for literally over a decade. I just don't believe that it's impossible to not use glyphosate. Like, people are like, you don't understand. You're telling me that there's no, like, from year zero to, like, 1930, they could grow corn, but now that it's just, we just need to poison the corn. It's like that. There's no possible way that could be true. We have so much space in this country. We could build new farms. The government prints money and loses money. You can't convince me that there's no way that we can do this. Would it take a year or 2 years? I'll even give you 5 years. Might it take 5 to 10 years to switch over to organic? Possibly, but I don't even think it would really take that long, because I just know how farming works. Like I said, I've worked in the fields. It's just like some crops live, some crops die. And when you spray shit, more crops live on average, but now they have poison on them. So it's like, what are the it's just different margins. Then you might have to grow more, or you might have to hire more workers to make sure. You could pull weeds out yourself. There's multiple ways to get rid of weeds. Let's just spray the whole ground and kill all the weeds with fucking poison. Excuse my language. I mean, that's one very sloppy way. That's like saying, like, oh, this house is dirty, and you just take Windex and you like spray it everywhere on someone's face. I killed all the germs. I just sprayed every wall, every window, every ground. I sprayed your shoes. It's like, that's one way to kill a virus in the house, I guess. But what if you didn't spray everything with Windex? Like that's the laziest, most ignorant, retarded way to get rid of something in your house. Like, you individually clean stuff. There's better products, probably. There's multiple ways to get rid of bugs and weeds without spraying everything all the time. It's so obvious. I don't know. Well, there's no way. BS. I bet if there were as many organic farming lobbyists in Washington as there are pesticide lobbyists and pharmaceutical lobbyists, I bet we'd find a solution within a year. It's about profit and money and corruption. It's not about we can do it or we can't do it. They hate us. And even in Europe, even though they have a lot of problems, it's like they don't hate themselves that much that they're going to like feed each other poison. They're like, you know what? We might be broke and flooding our country with migrants, but we're eating organic food with our families. And everyone's like, yep, I feel great. I'm eating food. In America, it's like, let's get some more money, like let's scam the people more. What if instead of giving them a hamburger, we created it in a lab and we called it Beyond, and it's made of plants, and it's like, all right, bro, sure, try it, whatever. But the free market rejected that. It's not doing that well. And once again, when I say this stuff, right, what I just said the last 15 minutes, everyone agrees with me because there's nothing to really disagree with. But for some reason, you bring in Biden, you bring in Trump, and now all of a sudden, nobody agrees anymore. It's like, oh, you're being too hard on him. I'm just saying he doesn't care. He has no plan to fix it. He's working with the people making it worse. So if you're sitting there worshiping a guy who's working against you and your family and the food supply, what's the point? Things get done a lot quicker when people wake up to the reality that they're not getting done. And right now we're competing with billions of dollars from donors. And I'll just let you know, like, I don't know, you're not really like supposed to say it. I'm trying to think of like a nice way to say it, but the main bankrollers of politics right now are people who pay Trump to do things for Israel and Jewish causes. So there's a reason he's like anti-Semitism, blah, 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 blah. It's like, because that's who's bankrolling his campaign. The lady whose family gave Trump and the GOP upwards of $500 million are in Israel talking to Alan Dershowitz about how he could run a third term. You think they want, the deep state's so mad at Trump. It's like, who do you think who is the deep state to you? It's Obama. Obama's a puppet. Obama's he's like a pawn on a chessboard. He's not the deep state. He's just another character in the web. But it's like Trump is such a useful ally to pretty much every rich person right now. There's a few people that don't like him, but it's like The pesticide industry likes him. What's there not to like? The pharmaceutical industry likes him. The Israel lobby is like obsessed with him. It's like they say he's like the first Jewish president. They want him to run a third term. They're dumping so much money into him. They're all switching from Democrats to Republicans because they're like, wow, this Trump guy is like the biggest puppet ever. It's like, is there even like an industry left that doesn't want Trump again? I mean, there's liberals and there's like people who cry about stuff and maybe they want to flood our country with more migrants. But besides that, it's like most industries are like, oh, this Trump guy's a cash cow. He'll sell water to a whale. He'll sell salt to a snail. He'll profit off drones, gambling. Like it's like he's like Senator Sodom or something, or Grandpa Gomorrah. It's like there's nothing immoral that Trump won't do. He'll sell anything to anyone. His kids will sit on the board of anything. They'll profit off anything. They'll make any millionaire, billionaire money. You sell vaccines, Trump will say it's the greatest achievement ever. You're selling pesticides, Trump will give you immunity shields and put your lobbyist in a regulatory board. And then his audience still thinks he's Iron Man. It's interesting because I've been saying this for 6 years now. It's literally been 6 years, and almost nothing has really changed. I mean, the culture has changed, but not nobody, but a lot of people didn't understand why I was saying it 6 years ago. But the reason is, if you're following people who just dick ride Trump, they're basically just as bad as the left now, because they're creating this reality that's not real to keep you in it, so you never break out of it and actually fix these problems. If all of them, instead of just slobbering over Trump, joined the movement of reality and then let all of these people know that it's not enough, we'll all stay home, you'll lose everything. The next election, you'll lose the entire thing, which is probably going to happen anyway at this point. But it's like, we don't believe you. We're not clapping for you. We're not cheering for you. We're not going to do PR for you. And I want to say as well, we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks, because I doubt they're going to act right. But I told people this for months now. I mean, this is not even something I came up with. You probably seen it on your own if you're watching the show, because it's obvious. But I was like, outside of my opinions, why is Trump's administration just running on this premise of like ballroom, screw Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, ballroom, there is no affordability crisis, I'm rich, la, 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 la. It's like, who does this appeal to? So now I'm starting to see the shift. Like, I believe that certain people in the Trump administration, either they watch shows like mine, or they just look at like raw statistics and come to the conclusion that they're just like, they have the real polls that they know are more accurate. They know they're getting destroyed in the Senate. They know they're getting destroyed in the House. They know they're losing the general public. They're losing independents. They're losing young people. The young male demographic has shifted like 40 points. They used to like Trump. Now nobody likes Trump anymore. Like, this is the real world. Some people do, but he's lost tens of millions of people. So now all of a sudden, now I see his administration, they're back to like, you know what? It's the left. It's the left. Look at the left. It's the left. Oh yeah, it's the left now. It's not Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey. You guys are done trying to bash them. Now you're back to the left, because they're not winning the argument against Tucker Carlson. They're not winning the argument against Thomas Massey. They might be able to win an election because they have 3 Zionist billionaires, including one in Epstein's book, that's funneling money against Thomas Massey because he doesn't work for Israel. But in general, it's like the general population, they've been forced to switch their game plan, the Trump administration, and now they're like, we're back to just pointing to the left again. It's like, cool, bro. The left sucks. I don't want to vote for them, but we'll see what happens. I don't want to eat like poison garbage food for the rest of my life. And I find it like thoroughly offensive that I could move to another country and eat anything I want and get healthier. Like, isn't that humiliating to every person? Every boomer that like sucks off Trump, like metaphorically, and just slobbers over Trump, they ain't ready to question him because I'm a sloppy boomer who's selfish. We know you're sloppy and selfish. Everybody laughs at you, but not every boomer. We love the boomers. But anyway, it's like, aren't you embarrassed that your kids and your grandkids are inheriting this country? Aren't you embarrassed that they're eating slop that literally like isn't even like human grade? They could go on a trip to Italy and come back 10 pounds lighter, even though they ate unhealthier because the food's real. Like, isn't that embarrassing? I would be humiliated if the next generation had to inherit that from me. I'm working to not only get it for myself, because I don't want to live in such a shithole country, but for the next generation. I would not want it bothers me that I would have to work 50 times as hard to get real food into the hands of my family, instead of just having it more widely available. Like that doesn't bother boomers at all. It's like they just sit there, they hoard the wealth, they slobber over down. It's like the most humiliating pack of, like the elites they call you cattle, by the way. It's like, maybe they're right. Maybe that generation literally is cattle, and we just need the young generation to be not cattle. But the young generation is retarded too, so we're not looking really good. Gen Z, they can't even talk. They're staring at their phones. It's like nothing's even real to them. They have no social skills because boomers lock them in their house and force vaccines on them. So I don't know that they're going to come to the rescue, but we'll see. Someone said, I'm officially done with voting. I'm not voting in the midterms. I think we'll see what happens to Thomas Massie, but if Thomas Massie wins this election, I'll probably keep my Republican registration and try to vote for people like him in the future. If Trump, Miriam Adelson, Paulson, Singer, and a bunch of the Zionist goblins that are bankrolling the opposition of Thomas Massie, if they successfully win and kick Thomas Massie out of our party, I'm going to go and register. I mean, I probably should anyway, but it's like, to me, the glimmer of hope is people like him. And, there's other people that I kind of like. I've met Anna Paulina Luna, no offense to her, but I don't really trust her based on other stuff she has said. She's not my favorite politician, because I've seen her say things that I'm like, that's kind of weird. But Anna Paulina Luna is one of the better politicians. She sides with Thomas Massie sometimes. She's against the pesticides. No one's going to be perfect, but Thomas Massie's my favorite. Anna Paulina Luna's a step in the right direction. Marjorie Taylor Greene was a step in the right direction. That guy, Tim Burchett, seems pretty cool. There's a few other ones that have their moments, but 85% of Congress in the Republican Party are pieces of shit. They're like Don Bacon. Don Bacon's he wakes up in the morning, he's like, what could I do for Israel and Ukraine? It's like, how much money have you taken from AIPAC, you old geezer? You know what I'm saying? How do people like that look at themselves in the mirror and feel good about themselves? He knows he's taking millions of dollars from Israeli lobbyists or Israel lobbyists and AIPAC type, PACs and stuff. And it's like, it's like, how do you not hate yourself every second of every day is fascinating to me. But yeah, I'm definitely not voting in this next election. And with the GOP, I think they have 3 years to get it together. And this is why I talk about this a lot as well, but it is just the reality of politics. They're facing a huge fracture right now. And if you look at the raw numbers when it comes to the younger crowd, let's just say the boomers are the last hope that these older politicians have. But when you look at the younger crowd, the media people are consuming, the politicians they like under 50, it's America first. When it comes to America first and Israel first, the future is America first. But the problem is the money that the GOP is getting is from Israel first. So they're going to side with their money. They're going to side with their donors. They're going to side with their friends and the businesses. The Zionists control almost everything in this country. So it's they're willing to lose in order to, I don't think they can exist without the Zionist infrastructure. So that's where there's going to be a fork in the road. And at a certain point, future politicians are going to have to figure out, do I want to lose every election for the next 30 years and be completely irrelevant? Or do I want to, tailor it or change a little bit? But I think it's going to take a couple years. I think in this next election, they're all Zionist everything. They're taking money from Miriam Adelson, this person, that person. These politicians, they don't care. Marco Rubio's never going to change. None of these people are going to change. So they're going to have to lose. And this is the tough part. I don't want Democrats to win, but I wanted Democrats to lose in 2024. I wanted Joe Biden to lose. I wanted Mayorkas to lose. I wanted Merrick Garland to lose. But it's Trump is such a disappointment, even though I had very little expectations for him. Now, I don't want Democrats to win the House. I don't want Democrats to win the Senate, and I don't want Democrats to win the next presidency. But I do kind of want Republicans to lose now the House and the Senate, or at least see the statistics like that, because they're hallucinating that they're so popular right now. They're not. Maybe if they lose the next election, maybe then they can gain it all back in 2028 in a better direction. I'm not really sure, but it's like, I don't want them to lose, but they almost have to lose. Like, they don't get it. They're not listening. They're spending more energy. I've seen Trump spend more energy attacking Thomas Massie and Tucker Carlson. Thomas Massie is my favorite politician. He's the best politician in America by far. He, even if you don't like him, explains everything that's going on, everything sneaky that they're doing. He's the only one explaining it thoroughly. And then you have Tucker Carlson. He's the best mainstream media journalist / podcast. He's not completely independent. I mean, now he is, I guess, but I don't consider him some sort of like rogue outsider. He's an insider, in my opinion, but he's like an outside insider. He's the best in that. And Trump hates both of them. So it's like, clearly, this is not a movement for me. This is not a party for me when you hate all the best people. What do you hate? Ron Paul too? You hate freaking Joe Kent. It's just like, so they need to lose somehow. And if they don't get it before the election, maybe they'll get it after the election. So I'm not voting. They didn't earn my vote. I don't want Democrats to win, but Republicans have to lose to either switch it up or they'll ride it forever. But, if I gave Trump $50 million or $40 million for this election, he'd probably do better. But it's not me giving him tens of millions of dollars and the GOP. It's Miriam Adelson. She's bankrolling them. So they do what she wants to do, or else she wouldn't be paying them. It's like, it's the pharmaceutical industry. It's the lobbyists. It's the donors. It's all of Trump's friends that he's been eating lunch with at Mar-a-Lago for the last 50 years saying, we're making a lot of money in oil. We're making a lot of money at Bayer. We're making a lot of Monsanto money. Wow, we're making so much chemical money. Oh my gosh, you should do this. Like, his friends are the skeeziest people in the world, and Trump just does whatever they want. It sucks. Let me see. Someone said donors win 100% of the time. Right now, absolutely. But this is what I'm trying to explain to people. And I know, so I'm not trying to preach to the choir, but people need to it's so easy to figure this out. Like, at this point, it's a choice to not realize that donors are funding both sides and it's completely fake. Like, the average Democrat who doesn't admit that and is just mad is as retarded as the Republican Trump person that's like, I don't think the donors control Trump. Yeah, you don't think so? Well, you're retarded. So, it's like, I don't think the donors control Trump. Can we get an IQ test? I know they want to do a kill switch, like, what's it called? Like a blood alcohol test to see if you're drunk. Can we get you an IQ test? Maybe we should do a car scan of you, and they should IQ scan you. And if it's under like 80, then you can't drive and you get deported or something to I don't know, somewhere. I don't think the donors control Trump. You're retarded. They do. It's not even debatable. So are you just going to sit and lie to yourself for the next 10 years? Me and my 20 million Trump fans don't think so. We know. You're the problem. You're the problem. You're the reason we can't get anything done. Because if all of you took your retard energy and joined me and the winners, then the GOP would be like, oh shit, we have no fan base anymore. Nobody believes us. We're exposed. But instead, they're like, I watched a video of Mike, what's his name? Mike Johnson. And he's like, you don't want the left. The left's going, you don't want to vote for the left. No, I don't want to vote for the left. I don't want them to run cities. I don't want them to be prosecutors. I think they're weak on crime. I think they're open borders. I don't want the left to win. But Mike Johnson is a little rat. He is like, you ever seen Stuart Little? He looks like Stuart Little. He's literally a rat. And I'm not trying to dehumanize him because I know he's 100% human. But I'd like to see his 23andMe because there might be a little rat in there. And it's like, that's my option. The Israel lobby rat, as soon as he gets into the house, he's like, the first thing we need to do is for Israel. And literally the first thing he did was for Israel. He's a rat. He's a foreign lobby rat. It's either the foreign lobby rat or the other foreign lobby rat who wants to open the borders. It's like, this isn't a real election. I don't want to listen to Stuart Little tell me about, well, yeah, I can't vote for the other side. It's like, shouldn't you be running through a hole on a cartoon, running away from a giant cat or something? Aren't you busy? Don't you have to run away from Tom? Tom's running after you. You got to run back in your hole. You run back in your hole. That's where the Israeli donor money is. Run into your hole. You get the money. You run out. Create a whole show. We'll call it Tom and Jerry. Jerry Nadler could be Jerry. You could be Tom. Oh wait, or no. I'm getting confused. Anyway, let's see if I can find the Mike Johnson clip. He's like, well, the left is that's like, you don't want to vote for them. Oh yeah, here it is. Of course, I find it right away. I'm quick with the Twitter fingers. What could I say? Hold on one sec. It's like, look how cool the Trump administration is. They're coming out with Kid Rock and Mike Johnson and Marco Rubio and RFK sitting there on an airplane, and they're all eating McDonald's. And RFK's like, please don't eat McDonald's in front of me. It really bothers me. And they're like, I don't care. I like Big Macs. He's like, oh no. Oh no. We're never going to be able to stop glyphosate now. Let's just lie about it for Trump. All right. Let's see. Here's Mike Johnson with the please, Ratman, give me a passionate message. Make me want to vote for the Israel lobby. I mean, the Republican Party in November, since you guys totally like Israel. I mean, America.
They have full-on Trump derangement syndrome, okay? And it informs how they see the world and how they react and how irresponsible they are now is on full display for the whole country. I hope voters remember this in the fall. You got to keep the grown-ups in charge, and that's the Republicans. They have full.
I mean, maybe if I were a boomer just sitting drinking high fructose corn syrup on my couch, that would work on me. But unfortunately, you're going to need to do a little bit more, Ratman. You know, he's like, I'm really passionate about this, and we're the adults in the room. And in order to really keep the adults in the room, you got to stick with us, and we're going to work really hard for Israel. So do you want us or do you want them? It's like, can you say that without nearly falling asleep on air, my bro? You seem really Mike Johnson, first thing for Israel video. Hold on, I'm trying to find it on X real quick. Let's see if I could find it. He's like, do you want the adults in the room or do you not want the adults in the room? I don't understand. I don't understand if that's what you want or not. Let me see. Let me just I'm not gonna be able to find the video. Is the first bill that Mike Johnson signed as House Speaker for America or for Israel? Let's see what it says. The first bill and legislation under Mike Johnson as House Speaker was for Israel, a pro-Israel resolution. He gets into the House and he says, the first thing we need to do is for Israel. And I remember watching the video and I'm like, we're living under the Biden administration. We just got locked down for 2 years. You just ruined tens of thousands of businesses. Biden is a complete buffoon. We have a million things to do for America. And he's like, we really got to do something for Israel. And then literally the first thing he did was for Israel. But that's who we have to vote for. The Israel lobby plant. Or else those leftists will do what they do again. I mean, shucks, you better. And then every political analyst that doesn't explain that to you and just does what Mike Johnson does, they're basically a rat too, you know? And that's all they do. And I wonder now, I'm always accurate and I won't accuse anyone of something I can't prove, but I really, at this point, I feel like there's a lot of people that they're not just news analysts or journalists. Like, I think some people are agents or, you know, paid or working for the government, or I don't think it's just that. Like, at first I thought certain people were just playing stupid for money, and that's could be true. Like, play stupid for money and social events and you get invited here. Yeah, that happens. Absolutely. But not everybody. Some of these people have to be like agents or something, because it's like 7 years of them doing like the same thing, saying the same thing at the same time. You know, it's just like, here's what we think today. Wow, we're Republicans and the left is bad. The radical left has too much hate speech. We need to pass another law for Israel. Is that really organically what you just thought of today? Really? That's what you woke up and thought, yeah, this is what we're all gonna do this today. It doesn't seem very plausible, and it's certainly not logically helpful for our country. So someone said, I think Andrew Wilson is controlled opposition. I don't really know much about him, but I've seen clips or something. He's been doing debates. I've just been like tuning him out. So I think I've heard a take or two that I found like wildly not up my alley. So I just kind of tuned it out completely. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about what he's saying to really like analyze it. But I think if it's who I'm thinking of, I've seen a few takes that are just like off. But that's the beauty of like having your own brain, where especially if you're just like listening to people, you don't have to trust any of these people, and you don't have to like believe any, you know, like you have your own brain. God gave you your own body. Like you don't have to like anybody. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to trust them. And like I said, even for myself, every day I go live, every video I make, I'm trying to be accurate every time. I'm not trying to like live off of like something I did 5 years ago and then just be really fake now. If that were the case, I would recommend that everyone stop listening to me. Like, you know, there's certain people that they've said more retarded things in one show than I've ever said in my entire career, where it's like, are you stupid? Are you an agent? Are you paid? Are you a liar? You know, is someone bankrolling you? Like, I'm not, like, something's going on with these people. I'm not saying that guy because I don't really know, but yeah, at this point, like, I think like any honest person that's not retarded has caught on at this point. You can definitely tell who's a real person and who's not a real person, you know, like, and not real, like they're not existent, but just like not organic, not authentic. There's another narrative and an agenda. But whatever, you know. Someone said if you don't study Ghislaine Maxwell's dad history, you're doomed to repeat it. Listen, a nice man named Mr. Maxwell dropped off a history book and he said, I own this history book company, and here's what you need to learn, little boy. He said it with a B, not with a G, because that would be goy. We can't say that word. So he didn't say little goy. He said little boy. But anyway, so then I was young and I opened the book and I was like, wow, this history must be totally real. I believe everything in this book. Wow, this is really fun to learn history totally authentically and not be able to question it in multiple countries. That would be bad to question history. You definitely can't do that. Well, you can question most history, but just not one thing for sure. And you shouldn't, because, you know, that would be really, really bad to do. Absolutely. And there might be in the modern era, you know, there might be a certain group of people that's literally committing complete atrocities and doing every single thing they've ever accused anyone of doing ever. But you definitely should not notice that, because that would be really bad also. So you got to just not do that at all. So don't do that for sure. Let's see. Someone said Andrew Trump Griff Glazer industry plant. I just like tune out people that I don't like, am not inspired to listen to. So is he like deriding Trump or something? I'm not. Did he just debate Owen Schroyer about something? Because I don't know. I'm not often interested in listening to a lot of people. What I would want to hear though, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but I know like Dan Bilzerian and Dave Smith are like beefing with each other. Not beefing, but they're just like, you know, I don't know. It seems very dramatic and overblown, but I would like to see Dave Smith and Dan Bilzerian have a conversation. If they debated, I would listen to that, you know, because that would be interesting to me. There's things I like about Dave more than Dan. There's things I like about Dan more than Dave. I think they're both like interesting enough characters to want to hear a debate between those two. So that would interest me. But when it's like one honest person versus one person that's like totally corny and fake, it's just like I'm over it, you know? Someone said school was a waste of time. I mean, it's good to know how to spell and read and stuff. Math is good. Real science is good. There's some good things about school, but if you become, I think with school, like I'm glad I went to school, and like learned good things, but I was very rebellious and I think that helped me. Like, I was like a bad kid in school for whatever reason. I think because my parents were divorced, I had problems or something. All these kids had like a great life. I was like, my parents divorced when I was 4. I don't care. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, yeah, I never like I was a good person. It's not like I was a bad person, but I didn't like school. I didn't like the teachers. I saw right through what they were doing, and that isn't popular when you're like 7. So I think that helped me. Like I know school's good in some ways, but the people that like believe everything in school, they become like agents of the matrix. They're like, wow, everything I learned in school is 100% true, and I'm a smart boy with a big ego because I know everything. And it's like those people end up just becoming total idiots. So it's good to read. It's good to learn. It's good to know math. A lot of things in school are amazing, but kids should be taught that to question, and if you ask questions in school, sometimes they hate you. Like they act like you're wrong. I don't know. I probably told this story like a year ago, but one time I was in school, it was like 7th grade. The teacher was retarded, by the way. I was like smarter than her. But anyway, she's like, we're grading our own papers. And she was like, the correct answer is B. And I was like, isn't D correct too? And she looks at it and she goes, yeah. Oh yeah, I made a mistake. D is correct, but B is more correct. So you're wrong. And I remember being like, excuse me, retard? Like you made a mistake and put 2 right answers, but I don't get credit for being right because you messed up. Like that's how stupid the teacher was. I swear her IQ was like 70. She was like a caveman, total retard and so obnoxious. But I'm like in 7th grade. I'm like 10 years old. So at that point on, I was smart enough to be like, this lady's an idiot. Like if you're like, wow, my teacher's so smart and everything I'm learning so true, you're going to end up being brainwashed because you don't understand what school really is. I figured that out like so early that school was like a little overrated, not overrated, but not completely worth believing everything they say. And then even though I did terrible in high school, I became successful because I worked hard when I got out of high school and college. And a lot of people that worked really hard in high school and college, they never applied that same, passion to like the real world. So then they ended up just doing something like, not maxing out what they could have done because they're like, I put all my effort into high school, all my effort into college. But then when it came to my own life, I don't want to put any effort into it because I'm like more comfortable in school, which I'm sure a lot of people do. I'm not saying like it makes you a bad person, but I was the opposite. It's like I did terrible in school. I dropped out of college, but then I was like, all right, now we're in the next level of education, which is the school of hard knocks. Either I'm going to make money or I'm going to be broke and I'm going to be a loser. Now it's exciting because the stakes are real. It's like, do I end up a crackhead? Do I end up a millionaire? Do I end up, sleeping on a mattress in downtown Los Angeles? Like now school is exciting because, the stakes are high. Someone said spend a lot of time in detention. Oh yeah, I got detention. I had a lot of issues. I remember some kid like tackled me for no reason on the playground, and then I punched him in the face, and they tried to suspend me, but my mom was a boss. She was like, my son defended himself. Like it's not like I was a bully. I never just like randomly hit someone for no reason. I was always a really nice kid. But like anytime anybody tried to mess with me, I fought back and I always won. So they were like, we're suspending your son. And my mom was like, no, you're not. And I think she actually like out debated the guy and like I got like not suspended or something. I don't remember, but it's kind of hazy. I try to like black out a lot of that part of my life. Not really. It wasn't that bad, but I think just like, what am I going to reminisce on like 4th grade for the rest of my life? That would be weird. Anyway, where are we? Someone says School of Grok. Melania's like, we love the AI learning with the goggles, and the kid's like, wow, I'm getting real learning. Look at me, I'm looking at my teacher. She's like, isn't this great? Isn't this so great? We have the AI learning with Palantir. It's a Palantir AI meta goggles. Wow. Wow, whoa, is that Ghislaine Maxwell's father? He's teaching me history. It's very great. It's very, very great. Oh my gosh. No, that's not funny. That's really hateful. You know what? I'm wrong. Jimmy Kimmel should be fired. He should be hired and then fired and then fired and then rehired and then fired again for different reasons. That's what I think. I'm a patriot. I believe the opposite of what I used to believe, but I'll re-believe what I used to believe when it's the left. But when it's the right, it's right. When it's the left, it's wrong. I have no, it's like, we got to fire more people. It's like, okay. Let's see. Michael Knowles. What does he want to do? Let's listen to I Can't Talk About the Israel Lobby because I like shekels too much. Play stupid Michael Knowles. Let's listen.
I don't know if you caught the news. James Comey, former FBI director, is now under indictment for threatening the President of the United States. I call that a very good start. I want Hassan Piker arrested. I want all of the elected officials, the Democrats, the media figures who.
So he wants Hassan Piker arrested. All right. Here's a tweet from Andrew Klavan from 2019. Andrew Klavan, the coworker of Michael Can't Talk About the Israel Lobby because I'm a Catholic who loves shekels Knowles. Andrew Klavan said, or Iran is blown off the face of the earth in about 15 minutes and the world is better off for it. Well, that would include just blowing up and killing tens of millions of civilians in a civilization of 90 million people. But I guess that's just okay with Shekel Knowles. But, if Hassan Piker says a mean boy word, then he should be arrested or something because Michael Knowles loves shekels. There's a lot of people that annoy me in politics and media, but Michael Knowles is perhaps like one of the most annoying people to me because he's just so mediocre. He's never said or done anything extraordinary, and he's had a multi-million-dollar budget and just organization behind him that can make him documentaries and videos. Like, he can do whatever he wants because he has a team of dozens of people who will work for him, and he's never done anything impressive ever. And he always just plays stupid at every turn. It's been 6 years now. It's been obvious, so obvious who's bankrolling the Republican Party, who's the reason we can't get anything done, how many times we've got tricked. Yet he just doesn't seem to want to talk about it that much. It's so weird, so strange, so bizarre. Even though Matt Walsh is like a half-baked, like like what's it called when you like toe the line tower? I guess I was trying to like figure out how to reverse that line tower. Matt Walsh has made a great documentary. Matt Walsh has made some impressive videos about the IHRA, anti-Semitism speech definition. Like, even though Matt Walsh is the ultimate line tower on this topic, you could probably find like 50 tweets and videos that Matt Walsh has done, the documentary, extraordinarily impressive, right? Even though he annoys me. I like Matt. You can't find 5 from Michael Knowles. He does nothing of consequence, nothing that matters. He's just a professional, like, dumb player. It's so wild. But anyway, Hassan Piker is Cenk Uyghur's nephew. I mean, he's big with like leftists and on other social media. To be honest, I don't like him at all. I like Cenk Uyghur better than I like Hassan at this point. Cenk Uyghur seems like he's gotten more normal. Same with like Anna Kasparian. I don't know if normal's the right word because they're not normal, but they're like, all right, we're not going to do the whole left-right thing anymore. We're just going to talk about the Israel lobby. But Hassan is he's definitely a little darker and a little more less likable, I would say. But I don't know. What has he said that is worth arresting? And if, let's just say that what he said is worth an arrest, you're telling me you can't find 30 conservative influencers who haven't said the same crazy thing on the other side? Like, it's not a line I want to cross. With this sort of stuff and with anything, you want to be really you want to be really consistent and you want to be really thoughtful, because there's multiple levels to it politically. Like, obviously what comes around goes around, but just also God wise, energetically, spiritually, nobody's perfect. But if you don't treat others the way you want to be treated, eventually it comes back in your direction, right? And for me, it's like I could think of like friendships, relationships, a lot of stuff where, I regret certain things, or at least like it's not like I've always made the right decisions in my life. That's not true. Like, I don't think that's true to anybody. And there's a lot of things that in hindsight I would have done better. But one thing that I think I always tried to do, especially with news reporting, but just in general, is treat others the way that I want to be treated. And sometimes the way you want to be treated is not how others want to be treated. So you're going to have bad relationships with people. You're going to, be at odds with people, and they're going to get mad at you because they have a different way of seeing things. And that's understandable. But if you're knowingly just constantly being a hypocrite and not having the same grace and compassion for certain things that you have. So like, even when I talk about things that I disagree with morally, it's like I have certain levels of grace and compassion, because I'm like, yeah, I'm not like, if you gamble, I don't think you're a horrible person, but I'm fine with it being completely illegal. I don't think you should be gambling on sports. I mean, that too, but I'm just saying, like, a war, that's like a whole new level of like gambling that just shouldn't even exist. I think all prediction markets should be illegal. And I would even be fine with sports gambling being illegal. Like, I think it would be a net positive for society. But, I've gambled. So it's like, I'm not saying you're horrible if you've done it. But if you're like constantly railing against people in like an aggressive manner, like a lot of people in politics, for things that you're doing with no grace at all, that's not treating others the way you want to be treated. And it's just not being honest. So I feel like a lot of those people eventually like have like a personal spiral in some way, because it's like their whole life is a lie. Like they're not doing anything for the right reason. There's a difference between making mistakes on a righteous path and trying to do the right thing, and just not even trying and just completely like, and that's what I think a lot of people in media are doing. They're not treating others the way they want to be treated spiritually, but also they're not thinking anything they say through. So you believe someone who says this should be arrested. And then someone like a Michael Knowles will be like, yeah, what if I found you 15 examples of Republicans saying the exact same thing? You still think that? I don't know that I believe that he would say the same thing for both sides. So I don't know. I don't know what these people are doing, or what their plan is, or why they say what they're saying, or maybe they see it as like, I think at Daily Wire, I can't speak for Michael because I don't really watch him as much, but for Matt Walsh, if he actually believes this, I don't know that he actually believes this. Like, maybe he's playing stupid, but Matt seems to believe that NASTA's super awesome. That's fine. But he's like, it's the right versus the left. It's the right versus the left. So it's okay if we punish the left in a way we wouldn't want to punish ourselves, because it's the right versus the left. Does Matt not know who's controlling the right wing right now? Every time Matt tells the truth about the Israel lobby, it's Zionist Republicans that come freaking out at him. And those are the people that are controlling our party. It's not Matt Walsh. If Matt Walsh was controlling the Republican Party, every illegal would have been deported already. Every trans thing would have been shut down. Like, Matt Walsh's Republican conservative values doesn't exist in the Republican Party. So all I'm saying is just be honest about that and be like, okay, this really isn't the party that I thought it was, and I'm going to work towards changing into that direction. I could respect that. But it's like Matt Walsh acts like the Republican Zionist movement is the movement of what Matt Walsh believes. It's nothing Matt Walsh wants to achieve is getting achieved, because it's not, our party is not that right now. Just be real about it. It's like, we got to punish the left because we're in charge right now. You're not in charge, bro. You don't own the house. Like you're not doing, nothing you want to be done is being done, because people like you are not in control. So if you have people not like you in control, punishing people they don't like, what happens when you realize that they don't like you? They don't like your religion, Matt Walsh. They don't like your European heritage, Matt Walsh. They don't like your ideology. They don't like your nationalism. They don't like the fact that you don't like all the left-wing stuff that they have historically pushed into this country. So, it's like you think you're with them persecuting the other side and being this harsh guy that's going to get his revenge. You don't even know who you're with, And I feel like with Matt, either he's playing dumb or he actually believes himself. But either way, I personally think that it's like a survival mechanism where it's like, if Matt Walsh really wanted to face the reality of what was going on in this country, he probably wouldn't want to work where he's working, because he'd realize that it's not really a good spot for him, considering once he has to say what needs to be said, they're going to want to get rid of him like they got rid of Candace. So it's almost like he, out of like survival, he's just like towing the line and acting like, I don't get it. NASA's really cool, and it's like right versus left. Like, let's crack the hammer down on them. Who do you think runs the government? Who do you think you think you have the same ideology as Alan Dershowitz or Miriam Adelson? Like, Matt Walsh does not have the same ideology as Miriam Adelson. He doesn't have the same social policies as Donald Trump. He doesn't fiscally believe what the George Soros guy who runs the Treasury does, that Trump hired. Matt Walsh probably thinks that the Department of Homeland Security is doing a weak job on immigration. So it's like, what part of this movement is you? Which one of these people are you on your side? Like, I'm all for pushing them to like do a better job, but I'm not under the illusion of like, me and my boys are going to go after the left, and then once we crush the left completely, it's just us for 50 years. Bro, that reality does not exist, And if that reality doesn't exist, what's the point of like hallucinating that it does? It's like, let's do all these things as if this is what it were. To me, it's like jumping in an empty pool and being like, let's pretend that it's filled to 15 feet so I can do a cannonball. And then you hit the concrete and you're like, why did you do that? You just broke your knee. Well, if the pool were full, then it would have been a cannonball. But the pool's not full. So if you do all of these things you want to do with a group that's not your group, with people that don't like you, it's going to hurt. You're going to fail. You're going to set yourself up. Like, that's the part that I don't agree with Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh. And I just don't understand how they don't know that, and I remember like the whole energy behind January 6th. And I felt like nobody was listening and acting rationally, because they were like, mad. I'm mad. I'm mad at the left. I'm mad at lockdowns. Fair. I'm mad at the stolen election. I'm mad at this person. I'm mad at that person. So what are you going to do because you're mad? Well, I'm mad, so I'm going to trust Trump and follow Trump. But he just sold vaccines. Why do you I was calling Trump the vaccine salesman before January 6th. So because of this, you're going to do something that makes no sense, right? And then I'm not saying like everyone did something terrible, but I'm just saying they trusted Trump. They were like following his every move and his every tweet. And I'm like, this is so corny. And then they make a mistake. And it's like, wow, who could have predicted that? It's like, because your whole life is a lie. It's like you're pretending because you don't like the left and because you don't think the election was fair. Now you're putting your trust into a party and a group of people and a guy who should not be trusted. And then it doesn't go as planned, because it was never going to go as planned, because it never was what you said and thought it was. So at what point do you just admit that it wasn't what you thought and said it was? Someone said kill switches in cars with, I forgot about that. AI facial recognition, FISA warrants, AI data centers built for flock cameras to track your daily routine. It's getting weird. Yeah. And this is, I think, the point that everyone is talking about now and should consider. We just lived through a lockdown. I don't want to talk about it that much. It's traumatizing to think about, but it's not like we're this conspiracy theorist. It's like, oh, this could possibly happen. Like, what if they used all this stuff against us? They did that already. I mean, I still like cover up certain words when I post it on Facebook, because I'm like traumatized from losing so much just for posting like a word that they scanned on Facebook. So it's like people could still read what it says, but I don't know if Facebook will do that again. It's like they took away my whole living. They made my life so stressful and miserable for months and years on end, trying to battle with them or balance like all this chaos of like, taking down posts from 6 years ago and saying my account can't work for 30 days because of a post I made. So it's like, I still like just cover up certain, like, can you post like Trump AI picture of him holding a gun in Iran on Facebook, or does Facebook have a policy that you can't post guns? I don't know, but I just remember how crazy they used to be. So it's like I lived through a world where they locked the country down. I lived through a world where they wouldn't allow me to do reporting, literally just within the last 3-4 years. So you're telling me that they just did that within the last 3, 4, 5 years. Not a single person got held accountable for lockdowns or vaccine mandates or mask mandates. Literally nobody. They're going after one guy in Fauci's orbit, but it's not even for that much. But in general, now you're saying, but trust FISA and trust a drinking, drunk driving kill switch. It's, unfortunately, we don't live in a world where we can trust the people doing that. I wish we could. I definitely wish that they didn't do what they did to us. So then I would believe that they're just putting this in a car for drunk drivers, because I don't like drunk drivers. But you can't gaslight us into thinking that what just happened literally within this decade will never happen again, because nobody even took accountability for it. So, it sucks because, yeah, I get it. Like, technology can be used for good. It could stop a drunk driver. Like, that would be amazing. But at a certain point, we're not willing to give up our entire liberty. Like, people could drink drive for the last hundreds, thousands of years, and it sucks, and it's cost a lot of lives, but that's how all of humanity has worked. And now they're telling us, like, no, but this will turn off your car only if you drink, and that'll save a bunch of lives. It could save lives, but also the amount of lives it could ruin is in the billions if it gets into the hands of the wrong people. And the wrong people are running our government right now in both parties. So it's, it's unfortunate, but how could you not come to that conclusion after what we've dealt through? I wish we could stop drunk drivers, but yeah, the fact that the government passed that through legislation is crazy. Like, oh, we're going to help you so much. So you're going to help us by stopping a car if somebody's drinking, but you can't even get the garbage out of our food, so we have the same food quality as Italy? How come you can't do that? Like, that's the logic of all this stuff. It's the same thing with the ballroom that I said the other day. Let's just say I have no issues with the ballroom. I'm 100% pro ballroom. It's the greatest thing in the world. Let's just pretend like that's true. How is a ballroom going to help a man who does over 100 events around the country and the world every year? He does upwards of over 100 events. He probably lives in Palm Beach and his other properties more than he even lives in Washington, D.C. The ballroom is a stationary ballroom that's like doubling as like a military base in D.C. Let's just say it's the greatest thing in the world. Trump doesn't stay in D.C. that much. Trump doesn't live in D.C. that often. Trump doesn't do events in D.C. as much as he does all over the world. And even if he did, and he did more, he's still doing upwards of 100 events all over the country. So how is a ballroom going to help him when Secret Service failed in Butler? Is he going to stop doing rallies? Probably not. How are they going to do better security than they did at a hotel? Because there's going to be another event that Trump does in another state or another country that's going to be at not a bunker. So it's like these logical conclusions you come to where it's like, even if I took my bias out of it and I'm the most pro ballroom person in the world, how is that going to fix the problem? It's not. It's the same with the drinking thing. If the solution is to save lives, there's 100 other ways to save even more lives than putting some sort of weird AI scanner in every car and mandating that every buddy does it. Here's a better example, and I'm not saying that they should do this, but I just thought of it now. What if anyone who's ever gotten a DUI before, they have to put that in their car, and it's not mandated in everyone's car? I don't drink and drive like that. I've never drink and drive. I've never done that and cause an accident or got arrested, whatever. So it's like, why would every car in the country have to have that? Why not? If you're going to do that technology, which I still think is crazy, why not just, okay, you got 2 DUI. I'd be fine with someone with 3 DUIs getting that technology. It's like, bro, you can't stop drink drive. You got 3 DUIs. You probably should just never drive again. But in general, it's like house arrest. It's like you put that in your car. You know what I'm saying? The courts can say, this dude can't stop drinking and driving. We're going to put this in his car. That makes a lot more sense than a nationwide mandate of every car, every made. Once again, I'm not saying that you have to agree that they should put those in drunks cars, but why would they put it in every car? Like, at least that is less of a liberty, incursion or invasion than what they're planning. Everyone, like, every topic that they talk about and almost everything, you could think about it this way. Like, nothing they say makes any sense at all. Like, and it's not even trying to be like a contrarian. It's just they lie all the time. I like the truth. I like basic common sense. I like, humans and science, and you know what I'm saying? I like people. I like comedians. I'm a happy person. I like life. I like greatness. I love great ideas and funny people. It just so happens that our government lies about literally almost everything. And I really wish it weren't true. And I thought this was what it was when I was young. And as I've gotten older, I've just been proven more and more right. And everybody knows it now. So it's like, it's not even like that debatable anymore. It's like, they lie about this, they lie about that. But this one, but we need to scan your face in every car, and we need AI technology to turn off your car in every car. Why every car? Why does every person have to do that? Every single person has to do that? You can't start with a smaller sample size? Just start with people who get DUIs multiple times. There's a small sample size. See if it saves a bunch of lives then. Then maybe we could talk about scaling it out in a couple of years, but there's no logical explanation for putting it in every car ever, starting in a couple of years. Someone said, I love money. You love money? A lot of people like it. You can, I don't know if you know this, but with money, you can do things. You could pay your rent. You could buy hamburgers. It's pretty cool. It's a little green piece of paper with like suspiciously weird Egyptian symbolism on it. It's like, we're a nation founded on these values. Okay, then why is there a pyramid on my dollar? I don't understand that, but were we Egyptians? We was kings? Was we kings? Were we kings, boys? Why is there a pyramid on my dollar? We was kings, that's why, for sure. Let's see. Folks acknowledge government lies, but say that's how it's always been. I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is. I know some people are just busy doing their thing, but I also think if everyone who paid attention was honest about it, honesty could solve a lot of these issues. There's 20 million people that pay attention to politics every day, but they'll just be like, yeah, that's bad, but Sean Hannity's on, or that's bad, but Trump will fix it, or and then on the other side, I don't know what they're doing. I can't honestly, it's hard, even though I think about this stuff every day, it's kind of hard to fully figure out what's going on. But what I would say is that there's certain things that are popular, but there's no leader to bring it all together. And the leaders that they often give us are people that aren't going to drive it home, Even though RFK is being a little phony now, one thing I have to give RFK credit on, we have to be nice, even if people fail us a little bit. RFK ran and said, this is my main cause. I'm trying to clean up the food supply. Even though he's failed to completely do that, he has started to push a lot of brands into the direction of getting rid of seed oils and using olive oil and stuff like that. I've seen it happen in Lay's and mainstream brands. The change is starting to happen in a lot of candies and stuff like that. And RFK is not the only one, because to be honest, Gavin Newsom actually did that in California before a lot of Republicans, which is crazy, but look it up. But in general, there was no leader to push it further. There was only politicians doing one side or the other. So RFK became this leader that became so popular to push this forward. And now we're seeing a massive change in our food supply for the better. But I would argue that, yeah, there needs to be more done. But that just shows you what can be accomplished when one person gets super popular and people are can point to something, and then he gets in position. He's at the HHS, and now the things are shifting in that direction. That's what we wanted Trump to do. That's, he closed the border, but it's when they give us these leaders who aren't doing anything, if Trump was who people thought he was, let's just say Trump was the real deal. And Trump came out and he said, listen, I got 100 million supporters and 100 million voters. You combine all the people that like me at this point, if he was likable, let's just say it's hundreds of millions in the world. No kill switches in cars. We're not doing it. We're not allowing it. We will all get out in the streets and protest. No vaccine mandates, no mask mandates. If Trump would have used his power to tell everybody to peacefully just stop, you don't even have to go in the streets. Trump didn't have to summon people to January 6th. He could have just said, listen, I'm calling for everybody to not take a vaccine or a mask. That's your right. You have the freedom to do that. I think, you should exercise that right. He could change the world. But that's why I talk about Trump so much, is he's taking up the space and the energy of a Ron Paul, of a Alex Jones type person, of a RFK, like all of these people. And I'm not saying they're all the same, but it's like you got hundreds of millions of people who know that something's up, and they're worshiping a vaccine salesman. They're worshiping a guy who wants to spy on you again. They're worshiping a guy who's basically building the Palantir tech grid for his Zionist donors. Like, that's who Trump is. So it's like RFK, even though you might not like him, he did get some of the food healthier just through his movement and his pushing of his powerful position. Elon Musk, maybe you don't like or trust Elon Musk at all, and he's been really weird recently, but Elon fixed a social media company. I've been on social media for 10 years. I don't care what anyone says, and this is like, I don't even trust Elon at all anymore, but he did make Twitter better. He did bring on hundreds of people. He did push the boundaries of free speech. He did change the pay model, and he also got other social media companies to kind of switch a little bit and be a little bit more reasonable. Were there other factors in that? I'm sure, but Elon was the main one who took a massive risk. And usually on social media, everything was going in the wrong direction. More censorship, more BS, more, regulations and stuff. And then all of a sudden, Elon pushed it in the other direction, and you got more freedom on Facebook, more freedom on Instagram, more freedom on YouTube. Like, that all happened. It very rarely do things reverse like that and push in the right direction. So with Trump, I don't know. It's not that he's done nothing, but for how much attention and power he has, and I'm not just talking about the power of the presidency, which is important, but he also has the power of his voice. What's he doing with his voice like he used to do? He's just crying about like Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson. Like, there's no like, this is who we are. We don't want kill switches. We don't want spying. We don't want the money printed. We don't want, it's more just like, I'm Lindsey Graham, and you're a bad boy if you don't think that's cool now, because I'm Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham, and the Rothschilds are thrilled with me. Like, that's, even when he was out of office, he did nothing to help people with the vaccine mandates. He could have said, everybody do this, or everybody think about this. But he was like, my vaccine's great. Give me credit. I'm the father of the vaccine. I saved 100 million lives. This was as bad as the Spanish flu, blah, blah, blah. He's wasting such a historic opportunity to inspire people to do the right thing. RFK and Elon Musk have arguably done more than he's done in the direction of food and social media. So that's the power of everybody caring. And the reason I went on that whole kind of side quest is, like, there are certain topics that everyone would come together to actually agree with, and then put their foot down and use their purchasing power and voice to change. But we're all being pulled in all these directions, and the way RFK did it too, I think, is interesting. Like, he's very chill, right? So he got a lot of people that aren't political to like him just by being chill and honest before he was in office. And that was enough to create like a push in the right direction. Trump is so like, but he's not doing that much. So it's like, it's causing these things, and it's not just him, but it's like, why is there no massive push to do this and that and this? It's like, well, now there's a huge push in the Republican Party and the Libertarian Party, and all of these like conservative type people, even a lot of liberals. Like, people think it's pretty crazy for the government to put like a kill switch in their car. Where's the guy that's more popular than everybody? Where's the guy that leads the country? Where's the guy that leads the Republican Party that's supposed to be the party of small government? It's not like there needs to be oftentimes somebody or something that catches on, some sort of trend, so then everybody can hop on and just like fix it. But it feels like that's the issue right now with Trump is like, he's not annoying enough, or to me he is, but to most people, he's not the guy enough for people to be like, okay, he's not the guy. Let's completely like Biden or something. It's like, he is not it. He's like just enough for people to still kind of like have hope and wait, but not enough to actually fix a lot of the issues. So we'll see what happens with his, like, hopefully he does a lot of great things and like changes it around. But what I'm saying is, like, just strategically, I'm kind of interested to see what happens afterwards, because I don't think people are going to trust in like JD Vance that much. They don't trust in like Marco Rubio that much. Gavin Newsom's not that popular. There's nobody like Trump, and I don't know that they're going to be able to find somebody like him. Maybe they will, but that's what's interesting to me. Is like, once people realize that there isn't a political solution with the Democratic and Republican Party, then are people ready to be like, okay, now we're all going to boycott this company, or we're all going to stop eating this for a week, and we'll use our purchasing power to do billions of dollars of, listen, clean up our food. Listen, you got to stop doing this. We're not buying. We're like, you can't rig our cars to make it like an Orwellian horror movie. Like that. Everything's so scattered right now, and there's very few people that can like break the popular threshold to actually accomplish something. But we'll see. We'll see like how that changes and who pops up and who really finds a way to like crack through that, threshold. Someone said, is Bubba jealous of Brigitte? No comment. Let me see. Someone said, order your Trump Bible from your Trump phone with Trump dollars. No comment. Someone said, Trump vaccines executive order from September 2019. Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the very few journalists to report this. I know some independent people have, but most people with any sort of audience have not. This is another thing too, not to harp on the Trump stuff, but everyone wants to believe Trump's better than he is. So they'll literally just lie or make up a hypothetical alternate reality as if it was what they wish it was, because they want it to be that. And it's bothered me for years. So it's like, if you read Trump's executive order, if you really follow the money and do the research of all of this stuff, Trump is in on it. Like, he's not this bystander who just so happened to get tricked. He is the trick. Like, but 95, even some of the most honest Republican journalists and honest conservative journalists, they'll sit there, stare at you, and convince you that I don't think Trump did it purposely. I think he got tricked. I think he didn't mean to do that. I don't think it's like, that would be like me saying, like, I don't think Bill Gates meant to do anything in his life. I just think he got tricked for 20 years. Maybe Bill Gates got tricked or something. But would anyone say that about Bill Gates? Oh, Bill Gates didn't mean to do that. He just got tricked. No one would say that about Bill Gates. Would anyone say that about George Soros? Oh, George Soros didn't mean to do that. He just got tricked. Mitch McConnell didn't mean to do that for his whole career. He just got tricked. Mike Pence didn't mean to work for the lobby. He just got tricked. No one would say that about anyone ever, literally, because it's like, if you got tricked, you're just a bad leader. If you didn't get tricked, you're in on it. But either way, it's like, who cares? Let's move on to somebody who actually gets the job done. But 95% of Republicans, including some of the most honest people, they'll tell everybody, oh, Trump wasn't responsible for any of that stuff. It was just the left. It was just Fauci. It was just Bill Gates. Well, Trump talked about Bill Gates with Bill Gates about universal vaccines in 2018, and he offered him a White House position. If Trump wasn't on the same page as Bill Gates, why did they talk about everything that Trump rolled out in 2019, a year before, and Trump offered him a White House position? No one will report this. Nobody will tell anybody. It's like, that's what I was saying about Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles. It's like their whole thought process on who the Republican Party is a hypothetical of what they wish it was, and so they don't have to face the reality of what it actually is and tell their audience the truth about what's actually happening. Because if they stop playing this hypothetical game of who they wish the Republican Party was in their head and told people who they were, they would have to report on the Israel lobby, because that's like the main element that they just don't seem to talk about. It would be like if I was trying to explain the Los Angeles Lakers to you, but I didn't talk about Luka Doncic and I didn't want to talk about LeBron James. Like, Luka Doncic and LeBron James are two of the most important players on the Lakers. How could you possibly explain to somebody the Lakers without their two best players right now? That's like trying to explain the GOP without the Israel lobby makes about that much sense. It's like, let me explain to you what guacamole is, but I don't want to talk about avocados. Okay, so what is it? Well, it's like lemon juice. It's like onions. I think there's like something else in there. Why is it green? Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the avocados. All right, well, this story is going to be very empty then. It's going to be very confusing. That's Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles not talking about the Israel lobby. It's that prolific, but they won't say anything. So it's the same with the pandemic and the lockdown, and everybody acts like Trump is just this mysterious moron who just got tricked by Fauci and just so happened to give him an award as he was leaving office a day beforehand. Just so happened. It's not real. Like, most of what I've said about this stuff ages well because I'm telling the truth. Like, it's not really that complicated. It's not like, oh my gosh, he saw into a magic ball and no one else could see what it's like, or I just literally told you the truth and they lied to you, or they played stupid about something that was obvious. I always give grace. Some people, it takes a little time, but do you want me to read an article that Matt Walsh wrote? Here, I'll read an article that Matt Walsh wrote about the Israel lobby like decades ago. And you tell me if it's a natural trajectory for somebody like this to just mysteriously never want to talk about the Israel lobby and act like it's not a huge problem. On Israel lobby archive. Okay, I'm just going to read it for you guys. I'll let you know the year too. I'm using like Grok to just search for it real quick. Let me see. The main Matt Walsh piece you're looking for is a blog post that he wrote called Bow Before Israel, Unless You're an Anti-Semite, in 2013. Okay. I don't want to read the first part. I'll just get into the part. So Matt wrote this in 2013. Here are Hegel's actual controversial remarks that have been enough to make him a 21st century Hitler. He said, "I'm not an Israeli senator. I'm a United States senator." Gasp, shock, outrage, anti-Semite. On another occasion, he hatefully growled, "The Jewish lobby intimidates a lot of people up here. Scandal, hate crime, arrest this man." Ironically, the reaction to his Jewish lobby comment actually proves his point rather effectively. And what exactly is the problem with what he said? Are we now denying a Jewish lobby exists? There's a lobby for everyone and everything. There's a Christian lobby, a Muslim lobby, a gay lobby, an old people lobby. Even buildings have lobbies. I'm just going to keep going because he just writes a lot of stuff that is not as relevant. But he said, "It's astoundingly stupid that anyone would attack Hegel for simply stating that he's not an Israeli senator and his primary loyalty is to the United States. Shouldn't they all say that? Is there a man or woman in the Senate who actually disagrees with this sentiment? If so, kindly point them out so they could be arrested for treason. But that is what it is, isn't it? When you put the interests of a foreign government over that of your constituents." Senator Lindsey Graham, a profoundly idiotic man who looks like Matt Stone turned my grandmother into a South Park cartoon, called the Hegel selection an in-your-face nomination. Lindsey, I could see you running the morning shift at Joanne Fabrics, but every time I'm reminded that people actually voted for you in the United States Senate, I weep inside. Please shut up. And only ask yourself to shut up because you're a blabbering dolt and a dangerous neocon degenerate. Bless your heart. So this is Matt Walsh in 2013. It's now 2026. We've had 8 years of Donald Trump. Trump is endorsing Lindsey Graham, running Lindsey Graham's foreign policy. They have the same handlers, the same donors. Trump has essentially morphed into Lindsey Graham. Does Matt Walsh talk about it? Yes. Does he comment on it? Yes. Does he say he's against a lot of the things that are saying? Sure. but he doesn't do so with the passion he does everything else with, because he works for these people, not with the government necessarily, but his entire like orbit is basically Israel firsters. So he has to play stupid. He has to pussyfoot around it. You're telling me a man who knew about the Israel and Jewish lobby in 2013, who said articulately everything that I'm saying now, he just doesn't want to talk about it that much anymore? Does Matt Walsh think the Jewish and Israeli lobby has gotten weaker since 2013? Does he not see who's bankrolling the GOP? Does he not see that like 90-something% of them vote for these Israel laws, but when it comes to stopping a kill switch, they can't do it? When it comes to voting for stuff that Matt wants, they don't do it. They can't pass the SAVE Act that everyone wants, but every Israel thing, they vote every single time. Someone said, wow, where's Matt? Where's his voice now? 100%. That's what I'm like, if I thought he just didn't know, I'd be like, oh, maybe he hasn't figured it out yet. He knew before I knew. But when I was like in my early 20s or possibly teens, Matt Walsh was writing about the Israel lobby and how it's crazy. And then when anyone does that on the right, he's nowhere to be found when people are getting slandered and stuff. You know, it's just like he just doesn't notice it, doesn't want to talk about it, barely talks about it. It's so fake. They're so fake. Someone said, have you heard about the 197 person study showing ivermectin and mebendazole fight disease? I don't want to name it real quick. Proven safe. I haven't seen that, but I think I saw Mel Gibson talk about that. Am I right? Did Mel Gibson talk about that on Joe Rogan? I don't know enough about it to like really mention it, but I do think that the pharmaceutical industry lies. So if there is something effective, I don't trust them to necessarily tell people, but I don't know enough about it. But I do think that Mel Gibson mentioned it one time on Rogan. Someone said, yeah, Trump will go against his donors because a bunch of goyim are angry. That's delusional. I don't even think you need to be angry. I just think it's like a numbers game. Like I don't know that Trump would necessarily go against his donors, but someone like a Trump would never be able to get elected again if enough people cared, and they would get replaced by somebody who did serve America. Like it's not, I don't necessarily think that results will come instantaneously, but I think they can come at a certain point. But if no one notices, like let me just give you an example. If dozens of influencers and people that influence and inspire tens of millions of voters convince them that Donald Trump is not controlled by that lobby and he's like just this guy really trying so hard, now half of our party actually thinks Trump's really trying and the other half knows he's a phony. And then, you know, there's probably people in between, but that's the difference. Is like, at least if you know that it's happening and most people know that it's happening, the jig is up to some extent. It's not like, oh, he's definitely going to side with us. Trump might never side with us, but it's like, why is he so like, why is that not a conversation that everyone is now having? But here, to be fair too, it is becoming a conversation that everybody's having. Like, let me look at like the top newscasts. And this is unthinkable. Top news podcasts on Spotify. 7 years ago, you couldn't find a top 100 podcast talking about any of this stuff, right? Let's look at the podcast charts right now. This is top podcasts. Number one podcast is Joe Rogan. He talks about it, but that's not really. Number 5 overall is Theo Vaughn. He talks about it. Let me go specifically to like news. Is it news? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to news podcasts, because 2 of the top 5 overall podcasts talk about the Israel lobby, call out Donald Trump, and they have no problem doing that, or at least to some extent more than most media. All right, how do I click the news one? This stupid clicker is like not working. It's so dumb. All right, news. It's like I have the charts, but they won't. So number 2 is Tucker Carlson. He's talking about it heavily. Number 4 is Candace Owens. She talks about it. Number 7 is a liberal one that probably talks about it. So, you know, we'll take little wins when we can get it. But I would say it's more popular now than ever to not just be like Trump, 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 or left, left, left. So I think there's a huge effort. You have to understand too, the people like our government has trillions of dollars. The military has trillions of dollars. Foreign nations have trillions of dollars. Like, corporations make trillions of dollars and billions of dollars. So I do think that they're losing a lot of like mainstream or at least just like popular content, and they're spending a fortune. I would love to know the numbers of like how much has like big pharma, how much has um the Israel lobby directly and indirectly, how much has like big pesticide, how much has the US, deep state, like how much have they spent in resources trying to beat Tucker Carlson and people like that or whoever at just believing, trusting in Trump or whatever. I would guess they're spending billions and just so many resources, and it's just not working. So, we'll see how the future happens, but it's important to just be clear and honest about what you're doing. It's like, we're not hating. We love America. We love this country. We want America to win, but winning has to mean winning. If winning means losing, it's not winning. If winning means we blow up countries in the Middle East, but everything's more expensive here, we're getting completely invaded. None of our objectives are being achieved. Our food is complete garbage. Big pharma is everywhere, and they're pumping like pornography and gambling in every sort of way. That's not winning. So that's what anyone needs to understand is like they can frame it dishonestly all they want, but they're trying to frame it as like, oh, if you disagree with this, you're a foreign nation. You must be Iran. You must be Russia. You must be China. You must be a liberal. You must be a doomer. You must be a black pillar. It's like, no, it's not blackpilling to want better food. It's not blackpilling to call out this sort of stuff. It's not foreign. It's as American as apple pie. The First Amendment's American. The Fourth Amendment's American. Giving those up is neither. So, like, they could say what they want, but as long as people are clear about their objectives and they're honest about it, it's the propaganda to keep people retarded and fake is not working. So, yes, the policies are not matching it right now. No, the Trump administration is not really on our side about it, but the future is. So, there's going to be a lot of games played trying to figure out how they can get back I don't know what they're going to do, but my prediction before I read the super chat, I think the fuel behind the Trump administration is the donors bankrolling him. And I think they're fine. Like, they'll flip sides in a second. So that's like my best prediction. I don't know for sure, but it's like, Trump thinks this is forever because everyone behind him is telling you, oh, this is forever. You're 100% popular. Everybody loves you. But these people are not that loyal to him. So I think as like, if his legacy completely crumbles because they bankrolled him, they don't care. They achieved their objectives through Donald Trump as like an empty vehicle, and they'll just pull it out and pump the next politician, left wing or right wing. So I think that's going to be a great surprise to a lot of Republicans. They should know this, but a lot of them want to believe that they're going to be in power forever and that they're always going to get these people's support. But just look at like the Charlie Kirk stuff. And I'm not talking about his assassination. I'm talking about like the year or two before Charlie was assassinated. Look at how he was treated by people on his side. Look at how they talked about him. Look at what they were saying about him. Look at how they were smearing him. Like, that is the future of a lot of Republicans, is just getting called an anti-Semite, getting slandered, or being ineffective. And then it goes back to the left. Like I said, I'm not saying about what happened at the end of Charlie, but just his trajectory of like him trying to be more honest throughout his career. And all the people, all the donors, not all of them, but a lot of them, they were not there for Charlie because they were never real friends to Charlie. They were using Charlie's organization as a vehicle to push their foreign policy and domestic policy. So, politics is an ugly game like that, but it's not like Trump is some sort of victim to like donors. They all know this is how it works. It's a very skeezy game, but when you play a game like that, it's like sometimes your time comes, sometimes it goes. Sometimes, you're the man in the White House. Look in other countries too. I mean, I don't want this to happen here, but it's like, as soon as like what's his name gets out of office, like Lula's in jail. Lula gets out of jail. Then he puts Bolsonaro in jail. I don't want that to happen here because I don't think that's like, they're throwing each other in jail for the wrong reasons, and it's not even accomplishing like any sort of corruption shift. But, I don't know. I think the GOP is making their bed with some of the fakest and worst people in the world, and they're just assuming that it's just going to work out forever for them. And I just don't see that happening. And I think as soon as they get out of power, they're going to realize who actually likes them. People like them for their power and influence. They don't actually care about them. If they didn't have influence tomorrow, their donors would throw them to the curb. So, we'll see how it plays out. But I see a lot of more people waking up or just becoming completely irrelevant in the next like 5 years because their usefulness for the donor class is going to be exhausted. Shorty said, will you please interview Casey Push? He's running against Vivek May 5th. I would interview Casey. I just don't think he has like a real chance. If I lived in Ohio, I would vote for him over Vivek for sure. But I don't think he's got the support, unfortunately. But he's running a very interesting campaign and he's being very brave and honest. And I think it's a start. And I'll say this as well. When it comes to a lot of campaigns right now, I don't personally think that Vivek's going to win. I don't think that James Fishback is going to win. I don't think that Dan Bilzerian is going to win. I think Thomas Massey has a chance of winning again, but he might even get kicked out, which would really be the worst of all of them personally, in my opinion. But hopefully Thomas Massey wins. But for all of these other people, I think it's the beginning of something. It's kind of like the beginning wave of people that are running on a specific America First policy and not being controlled by the Israel lobby. So I think when they all lose, it's not a matter of like, oh man, it's over. It's more like, what about the next 2 years? Like can Casey Push come close? Can Dan come close? Can James Fishback come close? And then in 2 years, can somebody actually figure out how to like win? I just think this is like the beginning stages of it, and I don't expect a lot out of it. But I'm also just a little perplexed. I've talked about this before, but like, how is Lindsey Graham going to win? I think I've asked people, and I don't know the answer. Is it just boomers? Like, do boomers vote for Lindsey Graham? No one my age is voting for Lindsey Graham. I thought the boomers don't even like Lindsey Graham. I thought Republicans hated Lindsey Graham. Are there so many like trumped out boomers that are going to just go vote for Lindsey Graham? How is he going to win? Like, we need like a Massey win, a Lindsey Graham loss, like a Brandon Herrera win, like, like just something. It's not like it's going to change politics, but we need to inch in the direction of more Thomas Masseys, not less, and more bold people that are running bold campaigns, not taking money from the Israel lobby. So I don't expect like a huge success in this election, but I do hope for a bigger one like in 2 years. Someone said they watch you 24/7. I'm Truman in the Truman Show, so I hope they're having fun. If I don't see you again, good afternoon, good morning, and good night, or something like that. I forget what he says. Good night, good afternoon, and whatever. I came close. Someone said, Grok, what does trust the plan mean? Trusting the plan means being a patriot. All right, I'm going to head out in like 5 minutes. Someone said the logo looks nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been working out a lot. It's been gaining muscle mass. So, I know he's worked hard for that. So he appreciates the compliment. And what's that? Oh, he wanted to let me, my logo wanted to let you guys know that I have a website, dreamrare.com. If you want a hat, you want a beanie, you want a shirt. I think that's all I have, hats, beanies, shirts. But yeah, dreamrare.com. You can check that out. Someone said Anomaly broke the QAnon was Operation Trust. I wasn't the first one, but I definitely wasn't the last. I had to have seen it somewhere because it's not like I didn't read the book it was from. So I definitely didn't break it. But I did buy the book. I saw the post. I bought the book. I looked for myself. Yeah, I feel like, with great power comes great responsibility. And it's not like I have that much power, but sometimes a lot of bigger accounts that could reach a lot of people, they never tell the truth about anything. So if I ever see something, like I can't even remember who I saw post about Operation Trust, but it wasn't me. It was just once I saw it, I was like, I need to make a video about it. I need to tell people about this and get it millions of views. So there's definitely someone else that was before me. But I was like, wow, that's whoever actually broke that is like a genius, because I wish I broke that. But to find the parallels between Operation Trust from the Bolsheviks and QAnon, it's literally that. It's like the same exact plot. It's probably the same psychology of how to kind of trick people. And I don't, this is my best guess because I don't know for sure, but I think it started just as a troll and then it became popular. And then I think somebody kind of took it over. And then eventually, as everybody saw, like the government played into it. So then people thought it was the government. Cause like, dude, why would Trump not like Operation Trust or QAnon? It's making people obsess over Trump. Everybody knows Trump loves himself. So, and I'm not even mad at it, but it's like, wow, look, Dan Scavino posted Q stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a group of millions of people who think that Donald Trump is essentially like a time traveling like genius who's going to save the world. What is there not for the US government to like about that? Like, it's like, so they kind of play into it now, because at this point, I think Trump's fan base right now is like, people who have created a religion around him and think he's like the savior of humanity, boomers, low information people that just don't really use the internet. Like, I don't know, like his fan base isn't huge like it used to be. So I feel like the only people that like still obsess over Trump is like boomers and Qmers. Has anyone ever called a Q boomer a Qmer? I don't know. I just thinking. Dude, the only thing more boomery than a boomer is a Qmer, a Q boomer. They're like, they were born to trust. They trust the plan, trust the moon landing. Someone said, I don't want Donald to win governor in Florida. Neither do I, but I just think he's going to. And I don't know for sure. I mean, James Fishback would probably know because he's running. But sometimes when you run the first time, I don't know if it's his first time, you learn a lot. So that's what America First people have to do, in politicians, is like, say you run, for office and you don't win. You have to figure out how to win, because there's a whole game that's being played, and the establishment has the blueprint. They have the donors. They know how to play the game. They know how to like hand out flyers, and they have like a whole infrastructure of how to win elections. So I think James is doing an interesting job, but I've known people like in California who just ran and didn't really try that hard, but then they just like said that they were trying. And, if you really want to do anything, you got to do it right. And it's not going to be easy to beat somebody with donors, but it is possible. I do think it's possible. But you really have to like not half-ass it. So that's the question. Like, will James Fishback, Casey Push, will all of these people come back and figure out, like, I think Casey Push should like run for congressman, because governor is going to be a hard push. But if he runs for congressman, uses all the skills that he learned from this election for the next election, I think it's possible. It's like being a quarterback in the NFL. Like a quarterback in the NFL for 10 seasons is way smarter than one who just got there. You learn every year. Your body might wear down as an athlete, but your brain should be more knowledgeable. You should be wiser and smarter. So I think elections are like that. Like, everybody wants to support some new person for office, and I do too. But I just think if they lose the first time, you'll figure out about the person. Like, do they really want to win? Do they really want to actually get in office? Then they got to run again and like fill every hole that they didn't fill. Not fill every hole like Lindsey Graham would fill every hole when he's on a foreign nation trip, but like fill every hole in a metaphorical sense, not in a literal sense. If you know, you know. Because it's like there's flyers, there's organizations that know how to get out to tens of thousands of people. It's a lot deeper than just like running television ads or ads on YouTube and stuff. So we'll see. But I think, yeah, I don't have, to be honest, I think that Democrats are going to destroy Republicans in the House. I think Democrats are going to take back the Senate unless the GOP has like a big trick up their sleeve in the next 6 months to really like inspire people. I think they're going to get absolutely cooked. And I think, you know, not saying I want this to happen, but I could just see it playing out this way. It's like Democrats win the House, Democrats win the Senate, because the Democrats are even crazier because they're like, you know, their foreign policy, they're like, I'm against Israel, but their domestic policy is like egregious. And, you know, and they're going to like screw up their district because they're just like super far left and they don't have common sense. And then next election, people are going to be desperate again for conservatives probably because they're like screwing everything up. That's when the America First people can kind of like slide in. And now a lot of their ideas might not seem so crazy now that the left is like doing all this weird stuff. And then you get someone who comes in and just like sounds like Casey Push or something, and nobody really cares. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not good at like political predictions. I'm better at like things that are happening and bills being passed. And like, I don't know who's going to do it, but somebody's going to do it. I'm not really good at like elections because it's like, it's kind of fake and gay and like the same people seem to get in anyway. So it's like anytime I make a prediction, I'm usually like wrong about politics or at like elections per se. But I was right. I knew Trump, like everyone was like, oh, they're going to steal it from Trump again. They're going to steal it from Trump again. I was right about that. I was like, no, Trump's going to win in the 2024. And they're like, no, they're going to steal it. And I'm like, I'm not saying that elections aren't rigged, but everything you think about the 2020 stolen election, because you listen to Trump and Dinesh D'Souza, it's not what you think it is. So it's like, yes, elections are rigged, but not how you guys are all saying. So I told you, I was like, Trump is going to crush. I could just tell. I was like, he's going to win. And the reason he's going to win is one, because elections, even though they're kind of rigged, like they're not completely rigged in the way you think they are. And he can definitely win because he's popular, but also he can win because he's not really a threat to the establishment, and he's got a bunch of donors and rich people behind him in Palantir. So they want him to win anyway. So it's like there's a combination of why he can and can't win. And I feel like everybody's analysis is off with it. But I do think that I don't want this to happen, but I think the left is going to destroy Republicans in the midterm. And that's when America First people and Thomas Massey types and people like Tucker Carlson, they need to really study the game. And if people want to run for office, there's going to be a huge opportunity in 2028, 2030 to really like, I think I don't want to wait that long, but I think that's when like real people are going to get into Congress. To be honest though, out of everyone's campaign, like Casey Push is funny, but he's not going to win. James Fishback, I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's running an interesting campaign. I don't know why, but I think Dan Bilzerian's is like the funniest to me. Like I would love to see Dan Bilzerian debate Randy Fine, even though I don't think he's going to win. I just think Dan is so much more, he's just so much like more, I don't want to say unhinged. That's not the right word. He's more unfiltered than like anybody, even though like Casey Push is pretty unfiltered too, and Fishback. But I'm interested to see like what Bilzerian does. That's like a hilarious campaign to me because he just doesn't care. And he, you know, I hope he gets to debate Randy Fine, or I hope he gets to even debate Dave Smith. I want to watch that. But I almost see this election as like paving the way for the future. I don't take any of the America First people, like, not that I don't take them seriously, but I don't think they're going to win this time. I hope that Massey wins. I think that's a close election. But 2028 and 2030, I think, is when the floodgates are going to be open. Trump is going to be known as a failure. The Democrats are going to take over the House and probably the Senate. They're going to do a bad job. They're going to get unhinged. The, you know, Israel First lobby in the Democrats, they're getting run out of the Democrats. I want to say this too before I leave. With all the technology we have, there are certain people in certain places that are super smart and they have all the information. Like they can see like what's really going on. And the reason you have so many like Alan Dershowitzes and Sergey Brins and people like that are like, whoa, the left is doing too much. They see the numbers. Like the numbers show that leftist voters overwhelmingly do not support Israel. And I'm talking about like now. Republicans are going to be that way in 10 years, but the boomers and the retards are keeping people afloat. But in general, it's like they know they're not going to tell you necessarily. Maybe they will. They have the numbers. They can't. They might not be able to win the election now without pandering to the crowd that is not pro-Zionist. So they're all like all of the backers or a lot of the backers are jumping ship to the Republican Party because it's easier with boomers and retards. But with the left, they're a different type of retard. There's going to be a lot of like Israel critical House members who win in this year, like a lot of Democrats. And here's the problem though. Their domestic policy is going to be outlandishly, cartoonishly terrible. So that's what we're going to face. The Democrats, like a Chuck Schumer at the top level, he's going to keep the Democratic Party pro-Israel because that's his entire job. But at the lower levels, you're going to start to see the blue wave go from a bunch of Zionist plants, which it is right now, to a bunch of, critical of Zionist, like Portland people and like New York City people and people like, and that's going to take over. And then people are going to hate them eventually because they're going to be like, holy crap, they're crazy. So then the Republicans have two options. Either they ride the, boomer Zionist train into the ground, which they probably will do. But eventually anyway, like boomers are going to just boomer their way out. And it's going to be like under 50, under 40 type people. And like the Democrats are way closer to bucking the Israel lobby than the Republican Party is right now, just statistically. But the Republican Party's time is coming too. It's just going to have to take years because of boomers. It's like, I'm sorry, but it is the boomers. Like statistically, it's the boomers. And younger people are a little boomery more on the right than they are. Well, the left, like I said, it's just a whole other bag of problems. Sorry if I'm acting like sporadic right now, but you get what I'm saying. Like the whole game is changing because of like Israel and the Israel lobby overplaying its hand. And it'll be interesting to see how Republicans kind of counter this stuff. But I'm looking at like 2030 as like a year where I think America First people can really dominate, or even like 2028. But we'll see. It's all like three-dimensional strategies going on between the donors, the voters, the handlers and stuff. But Democrats, they like, you do a poll, how many Democrats support Israel? It's very low. Under 40, it's like non-existent. It's probably like under 10%. Republicans over 50, they're like, I want my whole family to, go to war for Israel. But you go down to like under 40, under 30, under 20, it starts becoming like 60-40, 50-50, 30-70, so it's like that's never been a thing on the right, but we're just way further from that. However, I believe we're right about other topics. So that's the difference between domestic and foreign policy is like, just because the left, wants to buck the Israel lobby, it doesn't mean they're right about everything. And if you're wrong about so many other things, you're wrong. Like it doesn't really matter. So it's like they're going to do what they're doing and get that done. But eventually I think they're going to just mess up a lot of other things and just do really dumb things. But we'll see. We will see. Time will tell. And unfortunately, that's just how things have to go in order to like accomplish our goals. It's like during COVID. Like, did I like what happened during COVID? Of course not. But did that wake people up from the pharmaceutical? Like, of course, that woke, like, you could say probably like 1 billion people on planet Earth now have a different opinion on big pharma, a different opinion on vaccines, a different opinion on government tyranny, a different opinion. I remember talking to someone in Australia and they're like, we always trusted our government because we had no reason not to. We're not American. We didn't come from 1776. So we had no reason, like we didn't even think to not trust our government. Now every Australian doesn't trust their government. So unfortunately, not to say that it's good, but you got to be able to find the blessings in the dark clouds and be like, okay, that was crazy. That was not good. But the good result of all of that crazy stuff happening is billions of people. You don't have to like show them a hour-long conspiracy video to tell them the government's corrupt and big pharma's lying. They know. So, that's what's going to happen to America. I think the left is going to win elections. They're going to mess up. And then the right is going to age out boomers, and even boomers boomers are the one like demographic where it's like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Like some boomers are waking up, but most boomers, it's not like, oh, let me change my entire, understanding of Christianity in 5 minutes. Like, dude, if they believed it for 70 years, they're not going to stop now. But 30, 40-year-olds are more malleable. They're more able to change and shift. And over time, it's going to shift in the right direction because the Zionist lobby has already done too much to make people realize what's going on. And the left, like if they run the Congress like they run their cities, it's just going to be unlikable. And the same way, like they got away with all their weird leftist stuff for a while, but then eventually like people were like, oh, I want to vote for Trump. It's going to happen again. But I'll just end on this note. Like people, I think things are naturally going to go in the right direction, but you just can't get tricked by a Trump. And I'll say this too. You can't get tricked by Rubio. You can't get tricked by JD Vance. Like they're going to try every trick under the sun in order to like funnel everybody back to some retard that's a total phony as well. And at bare minimum, like if it comes down to like JD Vance versus like Gavin Newsom or Rubio versus Newsom, everyone has to make their voice heard and like not worship these people. Like this is I know this won't happen because it's not what I want to happen. But if you were like, okay, what would you want to happen? I would love if say JD Vance is running against Gavin Newsom. I would love if everybody was so aware as I am right now, and that you are, that he got booed everywhere he went, right? And by Republicans, like everywhere he went, he got booed, he got questioned. The same way you watch Turning Point. Like you watch any Turning Point event, there's multiple kids in line to ask them about Israel. They can't escape it. They want to not talk about the Israel lobby, but even at Turning Point events, that's all people want to talk about. So it's like Erika Kirk gets asked about it. This person gets asked about it. They ask Jack Posobiec. They ask this. Like that's all, they can't outrun the America First crowd. They tried for 5 years. It's too late. They have to answer these questions, and nobody is going to buy the shtick about not answering it. With that being said, that's my hypothetical, thing that I would want to happen. I'm not saying you can't vote for him. I'm not saying you can't prefer him over Newsom, but you have to let him know, we don't like you. We don't trust you. We know you're a phony. It's your job to convince me that you're going to work for me. I'm not so easy to trick anymore. I'm not going to just say, oh, it's just the left versus you. No, we know you're paid by Palantir type people. We know you're a phony. We know you didn't do anything during Trump's administration. We know you're a team player. We know you're a lifelong GOPer. So now you have two options, JD. Either you go America first, you do stuff for us, you cut it with the BS Israeli speech laws and all of this corny stuff. We want a clean food supply. Can you do that? Then we might cheer you. If you can't, Gavin Newsom will win the election with 90% of the vote. We don't care. We don't owe you anything. Yeah, we don't want them in office, but they need to be so profoundly popular that they get booed everywhere they go. No cheers, no applause, no Turning Point. JD Vance is here. Woo, he's a rock star. No, he's not. None of these people are rock stars. They're politicians. They sold us out. They're all cornballs. They need to be booed every single where they go, peacefully, but booed everywhere that they go until they know the jig is up. Nobody buys it. I know that's a hypothetical that doesn't exist, but if it's like 20% of the people that understand that now, it needs to be 50% of the people that understand that now. And like I said, they tried to gatekeep America First out of Turning Point events in 2019. It was like their whole thing. Now, that's all they wanted to talk about. And even with Charlie, I don't want to get into it now, but he was changing because he knew he was running out of room. And I think, to be honest, he started realizing, wait, that actually is America First. That makes sense. Like, I do like America. I am American. I am a Christian. And now he's not here anymore. So now his wife inherits the organization. They do like Vivek Ramaswamy town halls, and Vivek gets answered. He gets asked about Israel. Like they can't run away from America first, because America first. And I'm not even just talking about one podcaster. I'm just talking about like actually prioritizing America over Israel. That movement is going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, because you can't just buy everybody out forever. It's the natural, organic, honest thing to have as an American. Why would you prioritize a foreign nation over your country? Like, it's like trying to say, I don't like Christianity, but then it's like, why are there so many more Christians this year? Because anybody can become a Christian. You can't like beat an ideology sometimes. And this is an argument for the Middle East as well, of why it's not working what we're doing, because ideology spread. But anyway, it's like Christians can spread even if you do corrupt things here or there, because people see all the wickedness, and all the wickedness makes people want to be a Christian. They didn't believe in the devil. They didn't believe in evil until they saw evil, and they saw wickedness take over, and they saw how evil the people were that hated Jesus Christ, and they saw how evil the people are that are pushing, anti-biblical things. And now millions of more people want to be Christians, including myself, because I'm like, wow, no, I didn't think it was real, but it clearly is, because like, it's becoming so much more obvious. It's the same thing with America first. They can't run forever. They can't hide forever. They can't lie forever. America first is spreading in this country because it's the truth. And the crazier they get, the more people figure it out. So, that needs to happen in 2028 for sure, is like and that's why I've gone so hard at like Trump dick riders. It's like, I wish I didn't have to, because, I got other things to do, and I don't like to argue with people. But if someone's job is to just trick Republicans and libertarians and conservatives and patriots into worshiping politicians who are getting donor money to do other things, they're now an agent of the matrix. They're part of the problem. Like, they're in the way of the movement that would fix the problem. So it's like, I've talked about this so many times on this show. Sorry if that's something I say all the time, but it's true. But I used to say I couldn't believe when I went to Turning Point 3-4 years ago and Ted Cruz was getting applauded. I was like, why is he getting cheered like he's Ringo Starr? Ted Cruz sucks. Like, this is crazy. Like, Rick Scott, Florida. And Rick Scott comes out. He looks like a freaking Halloween costume. He's like, hey guys, it's Rick Scott. Just ignore the fact that my eyes are insane and I look like a skeleton you'd hang on your porch in Halloween time. Woo! He's like, we need to defend Israel. And everyone's like clapping. I'm like, yo, where am I? Like I know Trump's popular. I knew DeSantis was going to get a round of applause in Florida, but I had no idea so many people liked Ted Cruz and Rick Scott. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, why? Like, who told you to clap for these people? So I was like, we should boo. Like, everyone should be getting booed forever until they actually do stuff. But why would they stop scamming us when you're treating them like a rock star? Like, you would think Ted Cruz was Justin Bieber in his prime. Like, people are like, it's like you got like college girls fainting. They're like, oh, Ted Cruz, he's just so handsome. You're like, are we watching the same thing? What are you talking? Like, why do you guys like Ted Cruz? And like, why is Lindsey Graham the only one that gets booed? They're like, I don't get it. But anyway, it's like, if they knew no one liked them, there's a different game they have to play. But as much as like I know some people might not agree with me, because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. But it's like, what you don't understand is like, these people, like, they're literally treated like rock stars. Like, why would they ever change when it's like they don't have to? It's like, everyone loves me. Everyone still believes me. What if everyone in Turning Point was like, you suck, and then he gets like humiliated and like everybody's just laughing at him constantly like they do on Twitter? You don't think that would change the course of events a little bit, where people would be like, all right, I'm going to lose the next election by 50 points. Like, I'm cooked. You know what I'm saying? There's better people around the corner that are pushing me in the direction of the right, policies. And let me give one example too, just to give credit. And, I don't know what people think about this guy, but I don't really care, because he is a huge vehicle of what changed Charlie's opinion in the last 2 years. But when Nick Fuentes and his supporters came with all of these opinions and ideas in 2019, they were rejected by Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. And they were like, yo, get these guys out of here. They're horrible. They're this and that. And then like 5 years later, Charlie Kirk started having not all the opinions of Nick, because that's not true, but some of them, like some of the opinions that Charlie tried to kick away that Nick had, Charlie eventually adopted because the Overton window shifted. Charlie realized that maybe that actually was right. And like the average person that was like listening to politics started becoming so aware of it that Charlie started looking like a cornball. He started getting ratioed in the comment section. And believe it or not, that does have an effect on people. Like when they're super popular gatekeeping, they'll gatekeep forever. But if they become so unpopular, just through the people that are like, you're a cornball, you work for Israel, you're a liar, why are you for mass immigration? Now all of a sudden, like Nick and his audience and just Americans waking up to certain topics forced Charlie, or at least like convinced him, to start moving his entire policy in a direction that was more America first. And it's like I saw it happen where it's like they wait till the last second till they can't do it anymore, then they switch their opinions. JD Vance doesn't act like he did 10 years ago. So popular opinion and the majority of what people choose to spend their energy on, it really does shift the world in a different direction or not. So I think like, although I understand why some people would be blackpilled and be like, oh, it doesn't really matter what you think and do. And it's like, I get it, but you'd be shocked at how much they would if they really had nowhere to run. Like even like Ted Cruz, like I don't think he's ever going to give up the Israel lobby because it's probably his entire reason for being there. But when it comes to like Ted Cruz, if he got, let's just say he got booed everywhere. If like Charlie was willing to change his opinion, and in my opinion, that's why they hated him, and that's why they were starting to come after him, is because they thought Charlie was like a lifelong Ted Cruz. He was like a lifelong plant. But then as soon as Charlie was like, I'm not a lifelong plant, they're like, oh my gosh, this guy's in a high level position and he's not a plant. What the hell? What the hell? So it makes a difference. And just say like Ted Cruz, let's just say he never changes. He's a total fraud. He's not as honest as Charlie was when, in his last couple of years. Then there's eventually going to be somebody that is going to be so much more popular than Ted Cruz that Ted Cruz will be relegated to some boomer show, Mark Levin show on Fox News that only boomers watch. And then there'll be a new senator and somebody new that gets more votes and somebody new that gets invited to the events and gets cheered on. So, these things do matter. I think we need enough people to just figure out what's going on. And like I said, there's been a lot of progress, but in 2028, no cheers for JD Vance, no cheers for Marco Rubio, no applauses, no hoorahs, straight business. Hey, buddy, we're not impressed with 2016 through 2020. You led us into a lockdown. 2020, started the war, inflation rose. You're not really doing much. You talked about a ballroom. Like, you need to prove yourself to us, and we're catching on to you. And if you don't, we'll find another candidate to support. We'll find somebody else that will challenge you and make your political career more difficult, because we're going to give all of our energy to somebody who's telling the truth about things you don't want to talk about. So, we'll see if that happens. There's a lot of time, a lot of change that's going to happen from now until 2028. But that's my ideal scenario. Is so many people awake that it's like there's no there doesn't need to, at this point, be a fan base for a president or a politician. Like, that's becoming a huge problem on the right. Like, these people don't deserve it. And let me just say this too, real quick, for Thomas Massie. I'm not a Thomas Massie fanboy because I just woke up and I'm like, wow, I just really like his personality, or, he really said some things on his campaign. Thomas Massie was the only politician that publicly was against the CARES Act. He was the only politician trying to get Congress to not hide their vote for one of the worst bills in modern history. He explained it thoroughly. He was transparent. He was always against mandates. Moving forward, he was talking about COVID vaccines more than Trump. Move forward, he was talking about kill switches. He was talking about the Epstein files. He was pushing bills for better beef, and he's against the pesticides. He's putting in, bills to counter that out of the Farm Bill. It's like, if at any point Thomas Massie takes a U-turn and starts acting like Trump and JD Vance, I'll stop liking him. But for now, if you have 3 Zionist billionaires who are bankrolling the opposition, the Israeli plant or the Israel lobby plant, they're bankrolling the opposition to Thomas Massie. It's a local Kentucky seat, and there's 3 billionaires, and Donald Trump are spending millions of dollars to kick him out of his seat. We have to rally behind Thomas Massie, not because I'm a super fanboy and I trust politicians. He's proven to be the most transparent person in Washington, and the people bankrolling Trump to be a phony are trying to bankroll Massie's opposition. And, if we lose that seat, it's not just huge because it's one Congress seat. Massie is the man behind the magician who's showing everybody every lie that they ever do, every scam and every single bill. Like, he's the main voice of that. So we have to back Massie. But if he ever gets phony, he can get booed too. But for now, it's like Massie needs to win over Adelson, Singer, Paulson, and Trump. And if he loses to the Israel lobby, that's the biggest L of the year, in my opinion. And if he can beat Miriam Adelson's donor money, which is nearly impossible to do, it seems like, that's the biggest W, in like even bigger than Trump's win, in my opinion. So that's what I think. Appreciate y'all. God bless you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Long live stream. It's fun. It's not the easiest thing to watch, but for those here, we have a good time. Thank you for being here. And y'all be live again when I'm inspired by the news. But for now, this will do. I got all my